It's the start of a new week, and of course, yesterday kick-started the 10th month of the year. October is set to come with a lot of boons, bounty, many good things. It is my hope and prayer that all of us, you watching me, those of us who work from here, will get those boons in this 10th month. Good morning. My name is Benjamin Akakpo, and I'm going to be in your company for the next 4 hours as we dilate on matters germane to Ghana and our national interest. Well, here's a look at what you can expect on the show this morning. Right after the news, we'll be joined by Dr. Christopher Ampadu. He is our guest. He's West Africa Director for the Samaritan Strategy Group and an adjunct lecturer at the Pentecost University. Right after we interact with him on the newspapers, we'll be veering into sports with Muftau Nabila Abdullah. He'll be presenting that segment. And then we get into our big stories. Now, October, like I mentioned, has just started. This means we're in the last 3 months of the year, the last trimester, if you like. Many expect government to achieve a couple of things before the year ends, and government itself, on the talk it's been putting out, also has created some expectations. Today, we discuss that from a variety of sectors on the AM show. You can join us as we dilate on these all-important matters. Let us know what you are expecting from government before the year ends. Then again, we celebrate the University of Cape Coast, which has maintained the first spot as the best university in Ghana and West Africa. That is actually according to the 2024 Times Higher Education World University Rankings. Now, in the 2022 and 2023 rankings, the university earned the bragging rights as the best university in Ghana, the best in West Africa, the fourth best in Africa, and the best university globally for research influence. Well, in the latest ranking released just a few days ago, the university is still ranked as the best in Ghana and West Africa, but slipped marginally from the 4th position in Africa to the 7th, actually on the back of the new dynamics. Well, we've got that discussion on our table as well. But here's some heartwarming stuff you can expect on the show this morning. We'll be telling you about a group that is helping change the lives of young people through the use of ICT. Maxim Nyansa Foundation is an NGO that was set up in 2016 in Ghana with the mission of creating career opportunities for young Africans using information technology. Now, the group believes in a bicultural approach where the best of Africa and the best of the rest of the world is harnessed to train young Africans to become professionals and entrepreneurs in the field of IT. Well, we'll be bringing you that conversation as well. We'd love it if you joined us with your thoughts. What is this show without you? The show is all about you. Ubuntu, huh? We are because you are. So share your thoughts with us via the live stream. At the tail end, when we activate the phone lines, be sure to give us a buzz. On that note, let's settle for the news. Up next. Time now for the AM News, and we start with the lack of a sick bay at the St. Joseph's Orphanage at Jurapa. And this is adversely affecting healthcare delivery at that facility. Now, the leader of that facility, Reverend Sister Lydia, says they are unable to isolate inmates who are sick from the healthy ones. Rafiq Salam reports from Jurapa.
The St. Joseph's Orphanage at Jurapa was established 84 years ago by the Franciscan Missionary of Mary, FMM Sisters, and later ceded to the Sister of Mary Immaculate, SMI Sisters. Over the years, it has turned sea of the orphans into useful citizens who are working in various spheres of the country's development and beyond. Some in their own little way has worked and given a facelift to the orphanage. This building, which currently houses the orphans, was constructed by one of the former inmates based in Italy. The orphanage currently has a dozen of orphans under their care. They are, however, facing myriad of challenges, including the lack of a sick bay to attend to their medical needs. The in charge of the orphanage, Reverend Sister Lydia Akampanteba, threw further light on the challenges they are facing.
House is there, but we don't have actually a room for sick babies. Now, when one is sick, they all still have to be in the same room. So we are trying to see if you can get a room separately for that, so that when they are sick, then we always isolate and treat them before they can come into the rest. Because if the condition is contagious, then it will affect the others. And we talked about our means. We don't have means of transport. And we always depend on motor, or we go out and look for these motor kings to carry us to wherever we want to go. So we appeal if you can get a means of transport, so it will always help us to wherever we want to go. Like when 2 or 3 are sick and we want to go to the hospital, we have to go up and down. We don't have any means of transport.
Reverend Sister Lydia made a disclosure at a ceremony to donate food and non-food items, including cartons of cooking oil, Milo, tin tomatoes, bags of rice, toiletries, and unspecified amount of money to the orphanage as part of the 66th birthday celebration of Speaker of Ghana's Parliament, Alban Sommanikin Sport Babin. Speaker Alban Babin was not present at the function, but the donation was done on his behalf by the head of office of the Speaker, Richard B. Achampong.
Bags of milk, tomato paste, and tuna fish, just for the children to be well nourished and to be able to advance in life. And so he couldn't have envisaged all the things that they would need. And so he divided the things into two. So we have these physical items, then we have a sum of money as well that has been presented, just so that they could buy some other things that may be needed in the upbringing of the children.
Region of Yoruba, Naja Sazena, was full of praise to the Speaker of Parliament, calling on other benevolent organizations and individuals to come to the aid of the orphanage.
We always appreciate them. We wish we could always have a bell to ring to say that somebody should come and help them take care of these ones, but we don't have. And if bells will whisper into somebody's mind and heart to do this, then we can even also say that God is still doing what he has done before and is doing and will always do. So we give glory to God for the day, and we are in prayers with Honorable for all that he will wish for himself, and then may God open all other doors that are seemingly closed to him.
One of the orphans, on behalf of his colleagues, thanked Speaker Alban Babin for the kind gesture.
This is a fact on behalf of our sisters, our mothers, our two fathers, and my brothers and sisters. We are very, very grateful and happy to welcome you for coming to St. Joseph Orphanage.
Now, the rector of the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons, Professor Richard Adanu, wants the development of policies that will guide the responsible use of artificial intelligence in the health sector. He believes this will help health professionals harness the benefits of AI for patient care. He was speaking at the 13th Medical Knowledge Fiesta in Accra. Joy News medical correspondent Dr. Nita Pasram now reports.
Conference was themed Leveraging Artificial Intelligence to Build a Sustainable and Healthy Nation, the Role of the Health Professional. Professor Richard Adanu, the rector for the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons, is calling for the development of policies that will guide the use of artificial intelligence in health.
And we think that artificial intelligence in health is it has great potential to be used to improve the efficiency of healthcare workers and also to improve the outcome of our health services. So we think it's very important for us to get the information from this conference to the leaders of health, that's the Ministry of Health, to develop policy that would guide the use of artificial intelligence in health, and also to set standards within which people can work to take this forward. We think Ghana is ready to take advantage of artificial intelligence, but the whole thing is that we've got to move fast and make sure that we get the greatest benefit for our population.
Dr. Kezia Mam, Planning Committee Chair for this year's Medical Knowledge Fiesta, explained the reason behind the chosen theme.
We chose this theme because we wanted to create the discussion around such a theme. Artificial intelligence is coming up quite high. It's in what we do. We needed to understand, is it even already there in our system? What is being done? What can be done? What are the regulatory issues we should look at as a country?
Lecturer at the Department of Biomedical Engineering, KNUST, an AI healthcare specialist with the Global Health and Infectious Diseases Research Group at the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research in Tropical Medicine, Prince Ebenezer Ajay, joined a panel of AI experts to discuss the theme of the conference.
I'm glad that we all left with a consensus that AI cannot replace the healthcare professional, at least at this stage. It will only complement their work and make them more efficient. Then there was also the section where we looked at basic tools that doctors and healthcare workers in general could use for research. And it was exciting to get feedback, to see the interest in all the many tools that we looked at. I think AI really has a strong potential in the healthcare industry, and I'm excited about how doctors are responding to it.
Planning Committee member Dr. Joseph Bonney shares the impact of the conference.
The whole fiesta has been quite exciting, looking at very brilliant talks that has happened all the way from day one to the last day today. The workshops have been very engaging and has involved a lot of people, especially including medical students who had a chance of practicing basic life support and ECG reading for the first time.
Participants comment on their experience.
I think a lot of the robust discussions that have happened around care and care in multiple different settings has shown that AI can have that potential to connect people.
Reporting for Joy News, Dr. Netta Pasram.
In our next story, a sustainability expert and project director of NetCycle Africa, Venance Ondo, wants Ghana to do more to maximize the benefits derived from sustainable plastic pollution management. Speaking during a DAD alumni presentation on sustainable plastic pollution management, far-reaching consequences of plastic pollution and sustainable strategies for effective management, he said there were more benefits Ghana could derive from plastic waste than it was doing currently.
So I just wanted to kind of highlight that there is always the bad side of it as well. And the good side of it, incentives. In 2015, the UK introduced a 10p tax on carrier bags in supermarkets. What happened? The use of carrier bags reduced by 95%. Just the thought of you going to the supermarket and paying 10p every time you have to kind of get a pub, because it was free, right? They'll give you the bag, it's free. Oh, you can take 10. Of course it's free. But immediately they put that 10p tax on it. Oh, people would make sure that maybe they pay only 10p. But because if you were taking 10 before, you actually have to pay £1. You say, no, I'll probably take my own carrier back and go there so that I don't pay that £1 for packaging, for carrier bag. Or just take one and put everything inside. So the use of carrier bags reduced by 95%, which is a good thing, right? Imagine us taxing the use of carrier bags in Ghana, right? You imagine how much reduction of carrier bags that's going to cost, which is a good thing, because carrier bags, when you go to the beaches and all the stuff inside, washing around your legs, and you all know that when you go to Labadi and you see what's going on there, it's actually insane. Waste is a resource. That's what we have to kind of understand. Waste is a resource. It has embedded value. It has a value that can be unlocked if actually processed rightly. So the circular economy basically seeks to make sure we can extend the life of products such that we don't generate waste, and that we can use products that can regenerate. By regenerate, we mean the kind of products that would decompose, go back to the soil, and then something else grows out of it. That's kind of regenerative products.
I know there are initiatives with the supermarkets to introduce taxing for carrier bags, which, if done, is probably a right signal towards disincentivizing the use of carrier bags, or making sure that people can reuse their carrier bags without necessarily getting the carrier bags free from the supermarket. If that is charged, then they will either bring their carrier bag back or bring their own carrier bag to avoid paying for it. And that literally ends up reducing the amount of carrier bags that we all use, because we generate millions of them each day, and it's literally impossible to recycle them, because it's actually even unrecyclable, because it's actually downgraded plastics, which makes it very difficult to recycle, and so just ends up as waste that can only be landfilled, because we don't have incinerators that can even accept them in the country.
All right.
Well, on our next story, stakeholders in the performing arts industry want government to focus on that industry to address the surge in social vices. They have been dialoguing on ways of investing and rejuvenating the performing arts sector to alleviate youth unemployment. There's more in this report from the 10th anniversary celebration of the African Music and Dance Foundation in Cape Coast.
Reverend Ato Hills emphasized the substantial impact that the performing arts industry can have on the lives of vulnerable young individuals. Through the provision of employment opportunities, the industry, he says, can offer a constructive path for the youth while contributing to the reduction of social vices.
Okay, I want the powers that be to understand that if government should pay attention to the performing art industry, which has a whole lot of importance, that if government should invest and train these young talents, it will help reduce most of these social vices, and it will create a lot of employment for the youth. And this youth unemployment could also be curtailed by resourcing the various industries that help in the performing arts. And I wish to tell the government, especially the Ministry of Arts and Culture, to take it serious, that the performers are helped, they are resourced, they are actually educated, and also resources given them so that they can also help others to harness their talents to help build our economy.
The director and founder of Afrimuda, John Kubeteres, reiterated the organization's dedication to enhancing the economic prospects in the youth. He also emphasized the foundation's role in promoting Ghanaian culture on the international stage.
To mingle with even people from the outside world, and all that has given them that courage, all that has given them the endowment to feel that, oh, we too, we are part of society. Some of them have made good connections outside, and they are earning a better life today. And as I speak to you now, some of them are living abroad. Some of them have built houses. And all that, they are able to support their families back at home and can afford a living, And secondly, we have been able to promote the Ghanaian culture outside there. And people have traveled to Ghana, not to only Afrimuda, but also the benefit went to the government.
During the anniversary celebration, attendees had the opportunity to hear from the beneficiaries of the foundation, gaining insight into the real impact of Afrimuda's initiatives in the performing arts industry. The overarching theme of the 10th anniversary celebration was Our Culture, Our Identity, holding the torch for Ghanaians. The theme underscores the foundation's tireless efforts in showcasing and preserving Ghanaian culture on a global stage, reaffirming its commitment to youth empowerment and cultural promotion.
Now, the Alliance Biodiversity and the International Center for Tropical Agriculture are partnering the Soil Research Institute and the Crop Research Institute to implement a project to reduce costs and increase yield in maize production. A research associate at the Alliance Biodiversity, Jalaluddin Masood, who disclosed this at a farmer field day in Dasuyile in the Tolon district of the northern region, said the project would educate farmers on the use of manure, chemical fertilizer, mixed cropping to complement one another to produce high yield at low cost.
challenge to farmers in the Savannah zone. This has been attributed largely to continuous cropping, wrong application of farm inputs, among others. This does not only affect yield but also increase cost of production. To address this challenge, SIAT is partnering other stakeholders to help solve this challenge. Speaking at a farmer field day and participatory technology evaluation at Dasuile in the Tolong district of the northern region, a research associate, the Alliance Biodiversity SIAT, Jamaldeen Mashud, said they are using 3 varieties of maize for the test trial.
The project is trying to see how we can improve our yields in maize production and also reduce the cost of production, and also look at how we can intercrop maize with cowpea, and also the application of manure and that of the chemical fertilizer, so that we can complement the two. So we have done this with 3 varieties of maize, 2 open pollinated varieties and 1 hybrid variety. So we are trying to see the difference and how these varieties respond to fertilizer application. And also in the treatments, we have varied the fertilizer rates to see how the different varieties will respond differently to the fertilizer rates that we have applied.
Principal scientist at SIAT, Job Kihara, said the new technology is not only aimed at securing food security but also improving soil fertility.
As you can see, there are good technologies here that are improving productivity, having different crops growing together in association with different fertilizer management, and I think this is very important. And for us to consider how do we take this beyond the work that is happening here to our fields out there and beyond, and to communicate this to many more farmers. These technologies that we see here can help us to change the situation of food security and even our livelihoods as farmers and stakeholders by just applying more and more of these.
Senior research scientist at the CSSR Crop Research Institute, Dr. Patricia Amankwayoboas, explained to the farmers how the technology would help them.
Here today, we want to assure you that you are going to get all the 3 in one package. We want to reduce your input cost, and most of the input cost is fertilizer, right, and seed. So we will show you what we are doing here to reduce your input costs. Again, we want to increase your yield, the very yields that you have on the field.
Some of the farmers explain what they have learned and how they will adapt the new technology.
We have also learned about manure application with the use of animal droppings, especially when one is cash-strapped and cannot afford the chemical fertilizer.
In the past, we didn't know that you can crop maize and beans together. But now we have been taught and we can see how they are growing so beautifully.
And it's on that agricultural note that we cap off the news. But do stay with us this wet morning. We have quite a discussion coming your way by way of the news review. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us on the AM show. It's time now for us to get into the newspapers, and we have our guest joining us. A number of first-timers that we've been bringing your way over the last 2 weeks. Well, we have a new one Dr. Christopher Ampadu. He is our guest. I'll be telling you a bit more about him shortly, but right before that, let me tell you about Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and here's what they are offering you. If you're a man, it's likely you've never checked out how your prostate is functioning, what is going on there, and if you have, how about this year? Have you been recalcitrant? It's your health, you know. If you're a woman, do you know your status when it comes to fertility? Do you know what is going on as far as your reproductive system is concerned? Well, you could find yourself in tricky waters, which is why Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic has been so gracious to say, if you're coming to check out any of these for screening, come and they'll do it for you for free, gratis, untuyashe. Here's where you can locate Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Here in Accra, they are at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. There's Kumasi Kronumabwe here, behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiama Enzema. If you'd like to call them, here's where you can reach them. 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review, and we are joined this morning by, as I have already announced to you, Dr. Christian Ampadu. He is our guest. He's West Africa Director for Samaritan Strategy and an adjunct lecturer at the Pentecost University. Doc, good morning.
Good morning.
It's really good to have you for the first time on the conversation as far as the news review is concerned. But tell me a bit about, I'm curious, tell me a bit about your group, Samaritan Strategy. What do you do?
Thank you. Thank you so much. It is a ministry that trains pastors, church leaders across Africa and globally. And in the area of what we call worldviews, you know, we are talking about perspectives, a way of thinking, which rise to attitudes, behavior, conduct, and all of that. And yet people are saying, change your attitudes, change your behaviors. They are not telling us, how do we change our attitudes? It all has to do with mindsets, worldviews, a way of thinking. The Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he. So we try as much as possible to bring various perspectives in terms of the way we think, and then look at the lies that are embedded in our way of thinking. And then we believe that people need a new way of thinking to bring about progress and development. For example, in Africa, we are so blessed in every way, but look at where we find ourselves. A place of poverty, hunger, deprivations, and see the number of people who are all trying to run away from this dear continent of ours to a part of the world that are scarcely endowed when it comes to even mineral resources and other things, like even the youth. They are a blessing, but for us, it's like a curse. And so it all has to do, it has nothing to do with about God. Look at the religiosity we have. The churches all over the places. Look at the sort of preaching and powerful preaching that we have. And yet people are wallowing in poverty. It's incredible. And it has all got to do, through my research, it has to do with our mindsets, our way of thinking, which has resulted in our behaviors and our conduct, high corruption, acrimony, pull him down. And we think we need a change of that. It is not just prayer, it is a change of mind, repentance. And we do this teaching pastors, church leaders, godly people all across the nations to bring them in line with godly principles, godly values. And we think that as we apply what we call kingdom values, our nation, which is so endowed, which is so blessed, surely can take our rightful positions and then bring about a development that we need. It's incredible that we have so many churches, and yet wickedness, corruption, and thievery is rampant. We need a paradigm shift. It's not too much prayers, a change of mindset and attitude. That does not come ordinarily. It comes through intentional application of godly principles.
And I couldn't, I couldn't agree with you more on the points that you're making. In terms of, we appear to be a very prayerful country, but there are countries, as others have intimated. I am very much for religion. I'm a staunch Catholic, and I believe in the principles of Christianity, and I respect other people who believe in other things. I strive to love God, love my neighbor. But you ask yourself, especially, looking back at our own, religious grouping, we've had a lot of Christian leaders in this country. And in terms of the presidency, yes, vice presidency, we've had some Muslims, among others. Yet, what have we given back to society? How has our Christianity shown through the work we do? And that tells you that we are in a crisis, so it's not anything we can run away from. And on those very points, you say people run away to other countries that may not even have a fraction of what we have. I remember I always cite some of these examples. In Cuba, I was amazed. They have cars from the 50s, 60s, still running in pristine condition on the back of the embargo. They were able to do so many things. They realized that, okay, we have barely any natural resources. And to add to that, an embargo has been placed on us. What do? They went hard on tourism. Go there, pristine beaches. They have the tourism sector, it's burgeoning, at least as of 2011, 2012, when I was in that country. Yet we sit on so much in this country and we do nothing, practically nothing with it. On Friday, there was a simulcast of our show. We went to the eastern region in the Akuapem area to shoot from Safari Valley Resort. And trust me, some aspects of the road I had to drive myself. Terrible. And you expect someone to, say, I am going on some sort of relaxation or vacation within the country, or staycation, if you like, staying within the country. You don't expect that because the roads are terrible. By the time you come back, your shocks are, your car, your tires, your car is very dirty. I mean, it's a put-off, but that is what it is. Let's tie that to what Mr. President is saying in the Daily Graphic. Save democracy in sub-region, President urges ECOWAS Parliament. Now, President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo has stated that, quote, democracy in West Africa is in danger. Mr. President, why is that? And has therefore charged the ECOWAS Parliament to, quote, work harder to entrench the principles of democratic accountability in the citizens. The president said democracy in the region had been seriously subverted by, quote, the attempted confiscation of democracy by elites who engage through legal antics in the manipulation of constitutional rules and the subjugation of the institutions of the republic with the sole aim of remaining in power. He therefore charged members of the Parliament of ECOWAS to find solutions to the emerging remilitarization of governance, the attempted confiscation of democracy by elites, and the wanton desire to destroy democracy by terrorist groups and armed criminal gangs in the region. Doc, when the president talks about the attempted confiscation of democracy by elites, I don't know exactly what he means because his own comrade, good friend, Alassane Ouattara, has played the shifting game with elections and is serving a third unconstitutional term. They forced it to become constitutional. We have seen the things that have happened in the sub-region, and Mr. President is talking about the fact that democracy in West Africa is in danger. But of course, if the right things are not being done, our brand of democracy will be in danger. Your take?
Of course. You see, that is the hypocrisy we have in our politics. Because you can't be talking about one thing and doing nothing. And you see, that is, for me, the disappointment I have in our politics. Some people think politics is just telling lies and just trying to say words to show that you are really a leader. But you see, I believe political activities have to do with truths, the reality we have. Now, as you rightly said, how can you say that our democracy is in danger when you don't go to the roots of the problems that give rise to this dangerous development in our political life in West Africa. As you write, look, Ouattara did the wrong thing, and Ouattara is your good friend. You did nothing. You rather help him and attended, his inauguration, which means that you surely supported what he did. And so, what we do, people are surprised. The constitution is diverted, and a high unemployment, the national resources that have been given to you to work hard and make sure that the youth get jobs doing, or the resources are allocated so well that we have a development and progress. We don't see it, and yet people are getting, fabulously rich and using money. Even when you are driving alone, the number of cars that follow you, look at the spending of the government, and yet majority of the people are suffering. They are in poverty, and they are in hunger and deprivation. And you are talking about democracy being in danger? Of course, by your attitude, by your behavior, by your conduct, you are giving opportunity for democracy to be in danger. And so it is not just a matter of talking about it. It's a matter of working towards bringing democracy home such that people value, cherish, and appreciate that to be in democratic dispensation doesn't mean that we sit down for few people to have a lot at the expense of the majority. Democracy does not mean that you give contracts and give work to only party people or to family members when highly qualified people are on the other side of the political divide, and yet you don't care for them, or majority of the people are living. Look at the demonstrations we recently had. Now, that came about as a result of the fact that people are suffering. People are really in need. Now, if consistently this sort of riot, a demonstration result in rioting and result in other things else, who have given credence to this? It is our governance system, which has not given credence to the democracy that we all voted for. And so I think it is not just enough to talk about it. It's go to the root causes. What give rise to these kind of things? What can we do to ameliorate and then to remove this kind of discrepancies?
I'll tell you this much. We are very good at identifying problems. In terms of resolving problems, that is where the devil is. The devil is in the detail. And I've become, I have never seen, since the inception of this Fourth Republic and since, my family came back into this country, I have never seen a time when young people, especially with all the vital energies, have wanted to leave this country more than now. And I feel sad about it. I feel incredibly sad about it. Speak to 10 young people in this country. And when I say young, I'm even counting up to about 45. Okay?
Right.
Just consider that. Up to about 45. And almost 8 or more of them will tell you if they had the opportunity today, they wouldn't think twice. They wouldn't blink. They would be out of the country. Go today to the fire service area around Abilinkpe, where there is that tourist agency, for the sake of, I'll not mention the name. People are trooping in every day, standing in the baking sun, because they want to go to Canada. Because they want to travel to, other places for better opportunities. And you ask yourself, when are we going to learn? Now we're talking about our healthcare professionals who have gone en masse, who are going en masse, who will continue to troop out of the country. And very soon, if we're not careful, you'll go to hospital and even people to treat you will be problematic. And yet we are sitting and talking big. And
the point don't care.
Don't
care because they can travel and have their medical bills paid for them.
But the funny thing, you see, they can do that for routine checks like the CDD fellow recently said. But in cases of emergency, time and again, we have seen that if you don't create a proper system, the day you have an emergency, you can be whoever. It will catch you too. It will affect you too. And that is where you see that people are going through hell. Just recently, I went to a medical facility. I mean, it baffles my mind. How long have we been talking about the no-bed syndrome? Yet, if you're not lucky, our public health facilities, you go there, no bed, someone who can't even stand, needs a wheelchair, has to be referred to another private. How many people can afford this, afford that? Our system is in a shambles. It's a shambles completely. And my heart bleeds, Doc. I don't know. I mean, some of my elderly friends will say, Ben, we've lived out our time. Like a certain general, general would tell me, we've lived out our time. But how about you, your time, and those to come after you? What will you come and do? Look at Galamsey and our river bodies. But anyway, let's get into other stories. On the international front, very quickly, before I come back to Ghana, Tinubu offers temporary minimum wage increment. There has been a lot of scuffle in Nigeria on the back of some things. Well, as Nigeria marked its 63rd Independence Day anniversary yesterday, President Bola Tinubu offered a temporary minimum wage hike for lower paid workers. And this is temporary, by the way. The announcement came just 2 days before major labor unions were due to begin an indefinite strike on October the 3rd in protest against the rising cost of living. Based upon our talks with labor, he said, business and other stakeholders, we're introducing a provisional wage award increment to enhance the federal minimum wage without causing undue inflation, he said. For the next 6 months, the average low-grade worker will receive an additional 25,000 naira, that is $32, taking their salaries to $71. But again, I was in Lagos just a few weeks ago. You look at Nigeria, what it is, the resources that Nigeria is sitting on. And the way the citizenry. You see, these are the things that are creating the unrest, because people are saying, how can we have all of this? Leave it to foreigners who come and give us paltry royalties. And we in our own country are struggling. And to make it worse, you have the situation where, for example, the Chinese and others have taken our own resources hostage with Galamsey. And they are doing it in cahoots with people in government.
Right.
Because they cannot come from their country. Excavators don't fly. So excavators go through roads. They go through certain places. There's connivance. You go to certain areas, and our very own Erastus Asaridonko will tell you, you get a call from this person, hey, that is my concession, or hey, there's a call from above that let those people go. And we claim we're doing something. It's pathetic. Right? It's pathetic. But let me add this and then get your reactions quickly. International Day of Older Persons. Pass Aged Persons Bill into law. John Mahama to Parliament. Parliament must speedily pass the Social Protection and the Aged Persons Bill into law to give proper care and social services to the aged in the country, former President Mahama has stated. He further called on the government to be, quote, sensitive to the plight of the aged by putting in place effective measures to avoid passing on expensive healthcare. Healthcare comes again. The healthcare bills to the aged who are mostly affected by life-threatening diseases. Any quick thoughts on these matters?
Yes, Ben, thank you. It is sad. African leaders are fond of giving just quick fix solutions when problems do come. Now, the Nigeria problem, as you rightly said, when you go to Nigeria and see the enormous resources that this country has, and you see the poverty, the hopelessness, it is so painful for some of us. That's why we think we bring about this Ministry of Samaritan strategy, because we are so wicked to ourselves, so selfish, and we seem not to care when we see our own people in abject poverty in situations that they should not find themselves. I think somehow that's why we talk about their worldview, their thinking. When political leaders, the elites, are in top positions, and then people just run to them to beg, to always bow before them for either some few money. They are happy when we do that to them, and so they always want to find their own people.
Right.
These amount to wickedness. You can't believe it, but that is where we find ourselves. And you see, look at the solution the Nigerian leader has given, a temporary one, very, very small sort of increase, and the union leaders are okay. I mean, you see, I think we should hold our political leaders accountable. We don't deserve what they are giving us.
Indeed, we do not.
We have so much that we don't deserve that. We deserve better leadership. We deserve better progress and development. But we see when there are these quick things, we are also okay, and we leave them to do what they want.
And that's the sad situation, because we're so polarized, politically, that if X government is in power, things are going wrong, we'll still follow it and stick to it because we are of X. And if Y is in power, you'll have another constituency doing same. I feel we've still not got to that level of consciousness as a people where you can say that, well, most of us, let me just put it that way. Because if you have people telling you, oh, party whether NDC or MPP, or it's a goat there with party colors, and I'll vote for the goat, then it tells you that we have serious problems in this country. And I don't see how we can develop from that angle. But again, tied to that, the aged and the call by the former president for, some bill, some law for guidance. And for me, when I read that story, what came to mind was elderly citizens picketing the Ministry of Finance, the pensioner bondholders and all of that. Is it high time, just very briefly, we did more for the aged in the country?
I think so, because it has come to a time we should give not only respect, but relief to our elderly people. I mean, again, it all boils down to the wicked and selfish mentality we have. Once it is not me, then it doesn't matter. Once it's not my daddy or my mommy, it doesn't matter. And so it amounts to the selfishness that we have. But I think if you think you have a position or you have the resources, don't forget that loving your neighbor is the best thing to do as far as life is concerned. Right. Because there are many people who will suffer in sickness and pain at their old age because they didn't give credence to the elderly, to the old people. They didn't have any compassion. They think it's okay because it's all about me and all about my family. And I think, as our past president said, it's very important. And all this has to do with Parliament. These are people who claim to represent us. And these are things they should take it up and work on it, because very soon, many of them will also leave Parliament. And then they'll be crying when they leave that take care of us and please help us. Meanwhile, when they were in government, they did nothing.
I think their reprieve usually comes through being Article 71 office holders and the ex gratia and other benefits they get. So sometimes they do not feel the plight of the ordinary man. If you look at pensions, for example, I think over the years there are some people. Well, it's based on your contributions who earn so much. But if you look at what the people at the bottom earn monthly, it will shock you. Even with some of the increments by SNIT in recent times, it will shock you in this kind of economy, how people can survive even for 2 days with that kind of money. But the Ghanaian Times newspaper, at second ECOWAS parliamentary seminar, let's stop presidential term extension. President Akufo-Addo urges African leaders. The very thing we're talking about, let's stop presidential term extension. Your own good friend, your comrade, Alassane Ouattara did it, and you attended his, inaugural ceremony. What did you think? What signal, Mr. President, did you think that was sending? And you're telling us, let's stop presidential term extension. Is it an afterthought? Some sort of epiphany, Mr. President? Stop impeding judges' work.
But they will do nothing.
Pardon me.
They will talk about it. When they talk about it this way, you think they are patriots. You think they are people who care for the constitutional development of nations. But then they go to their own friends and say something different. And this is what I'm talking about, the hypocrisy we have in our African political history. People say one thing, their behavior and conduct is different. So there's a whole lot of hypocrisy in the actions of our political leaders, and I think it must stop. We must mean what we say, not just talk about it.
Stop impeding judges' work, Justice Doche to Chiefs. Let me take a quick look at that. And a retired Supreme Court judge, Justice Jose Doche, has called on Ghanaians, particularly chiefs, not to interfere with the work of judges, but rather allow them to do what they have committed to doing over the years. Justice Duche said the work of judges was a difficult one, which needed not to be obstructed in order to allow judges to have peace of mind to administer justice. But some people tried at all costs to impede the work of judges, which should be stopped. There's also enforced bylaws to address sanitation challenges, MMDA's tasked. The heavier rainy season is with us again, and our level of filth is showing once more. But let me just take a quick look at the Daily Guide before you come in with your reactions. Educhum is most innovative education minister. That's according to the Presby moderator. We've not bribed Kennedy Japong for Veep. And Kennedy Japong has touted that some elders from the MPP attempted bribing him and all of that. And then you would hear someone who speaks, I think Dr. Gideon Boako, coming to talk about it. And then the question is, so these elders and the hijacking sentiments and who received what and why is, it's a whole hodgepodge, but you know what it is in our country and our politics. Agenda 111 hospitals coming up, and Mr. President says quite a number of them are about 52% complete, and they will be done. Time will tell. I am tired of this vicious cycle where we do not complete projects. Another administration comes in, sets it aside, all at the cost of the taxpayer. I pray it's able to be done, looking at where our healthcare is. Any quick thoughts?
Yes, Ben, thank you. Now, I love what Justice Duche said. Now, again, our way of thinking, our way of views has made it such that when judges should stay fair and very resolute in the justice system, there's a whole lot of thinking around that, oh, he's my brother, he's my nephew, he's my political, colleague, so please have mercy. And this call does not go to only chiefs. It goes to, I think, our political leaders. This galamsey problem we have. We do know that the government and the justice system could have done great work to bring a stop to it. But there are a lot of political hands while the persecution is even persecuting. They will receive a call. Please, this guy is our guy, so leave him. I know there are people even who have resigned from the justice system because the pressure that comes to them from the political leaders and some chiefs or high-level people, it's so much that they can't contain the pressure and they have to leave. Now, why is it so? Why is that we cannot even allow the justice to run fairly? We train people who should have the right thinking and the fairness to bring justice. And yet, even though we claim we want justice, we are the same people who would just go around it, manipulate, and then disengage it just because it is moving towards us to really be against us.
Right.
We have a problem, Ben. And our problem, I think, has to do with the people. And I think that's why we need a new mindset, a new attitude, a new behavior, because the justice system, if you look at the judges, at least the Supreme Court, you can be sure of good judgment. But then the influence, the pressure that comes to them is so enormous.
Yeah,
now, when we go to our education minister, well, I have known him personally. I know him when I was reading my PhD, and I think that's a guy that is hardworking, very industrious, and creative. Even in the US, among the whites, these Americans, his respect is very high, even in Los Angeles. And I think he is giving somehow his best to us in terms of creative thinking in education. But we still have a problem, the mentality problem, the sort of antagonisms, the sort of pull him back or pull him down attitude.
Right.
A lot of, and even the pressure that comes internally from the political elites of his own party will not allow him to give all his best to his country.
That's definitely a conversation we can have some other day. Our time has run out, Doc, but just to run through other headlines. The Finder: cocoa farmers in Ghana enjoy $211 more per ton than their Ivorian counterparts. Speak against term limit extensions, Mr. President, but he didn't live by it, Mr. President, when your friend did it. The Custodian: resist manipulation of constitutions, Afenyo Markin to ECOWAS citizens. But Alassane Ouattara did it, and we looked on, Mr. Markin. Anyway, those are the stories we have lined up for you. There's also Economy Times. Government saves $2 billion as it puts on hold debt servicing. As it puts on hold debt servicing. Economy activity, or economic activity, I should put it, shrinks. Well, that's all time will allow us, Doc. Thank you so much for joining the conversation this morning, and I wish you the very best of the week.
God bless.
All right. That is Dr. Christian Ampadu. He is West Africa Director, Samaritan Strategy, and then adjunct lecturer at the Pentecost University. Before we go, let me just let you know, the 34th CIMG Awards were held yesterday, and guess what? We came home with quite a number of awards. Top online platform, radio program of the year, the Super Morning Show. My brothers and sisters there making us proud. And then again, we came through TV program, NSMQ partnership program with Prime Time on Joy News. We bagged all of these awards, and definitely we have every right to celebrate them. That is why we are the Multimedia Group. Thank you for always being there for us and propping us this high. Well, before we go, this segment always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they are offering free prostate screening, free fertility screening if you're a woman. Locate them in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. There's Kumasi, Kronoma Bwe behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiama and Zema. Their call line 0244-867-068 or 0274-234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But before we veer into sports, we know water is life. That's why after this, after all the talk, I'm going to take a sip of Awake, which is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. We also have the perfect sizes for all purposes. 330, 500 milliliter bottles to fit your pockets and bags, 750 milliliters for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. Like more. Now, our 19-liter jar bottles are ideal for homes and offices as well. All you must do now is drink Awake purified drinking water wherever you go. So choose a bottle of Awake purified drinking water today and get quality hydration. Awake purified drinking water, one for life. Remember, for every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. It's another quality product by Casapreco Company Limited. For bulk purchases, please call 0262-351-251. This advert is FDA approved. And our sports with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi is heavily approved by you. That up next.
Let's do sports down on the AM show with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. And on Friday, Georgia FA submitted an appeal at the Court of Arbitration for Sport and also filed for an injunction on the Ghana Football Association presidential elections. According to him, his human rights to fair hearing has been impeded by the Elections Committee and the decision of the Appeals Committee of the Ghana Football Association to uphold that ruling from the Elections Committee, disqualifying him from the GFA presidential elections this year. And he's seeking for an injunction on the processes, and that injunction is expected to be moved on October 12. The Ghana Football Association had scheduled October 5 for the presidential elections, and FIFA already has dispatched its members to observe the elections in Tamale later this month. However, with the injunction application being filed by George Afriye and his team, it appears the Ghana Football Association will not proceed to the Congress in Tamale. And also, in his relief sought at the Court of Arbitration for Sport following the decision of the Appeals Committee of the Ghana Football Association to uphold the ruling of the vetting committee, George Afriyie says that the ruling of the Elections Committee and the Appeals Committee should be deemed invalid, and has called on the Court of Arbitration for Sport also to reinstate him to be able to contest for the position of president of the Ghana Football Association. Part of that document, which was submitted to CAS on Friday, had said that per Article 8.3 of the GFA presidential elections regulations, it requires that the Elections Committee had given him about 48 hours to fill in an anomaly that is found in his nomination forms. But the Elections Committee and the Appeals Committee denied that, they rejected that. And even the Appeal Committee said that his failure to adhere to the requirements of getting his nomination form fully endorsed cannot be cured by Article 8.3 of the GFA statutes. Now he's gone to the Court of Arbitration for Sport to appeal that decision, and has also asked the Accra High Court to place an injunction on the elections until such a time the Court of Arbitration for Sport gives its verdict on his appeal. Let's talk Ghana Premier League now. And on March Day 3, Kumasi Asante Kotoko drew 1-1 against Karaweh United at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. Accra House of Folk suffered a 1-0 loss when they traveled to Sinyani to come up against Tanut Bofuakwa, who made a return to the Ghana Premier League for the first time in 16 years. At the Accra Sports Stadium, Great Olympics, they won 1-0 against Bibiani Gold Stars.
The young chap from Park Academy trying to weave his way from the right side. Henry Enso, he's beaten to the ball by Adomako. Here is Adomako. What a beautiful goal. Evans Adomako scores against his former side. Asante Kotoko declared him as surplus to the requirements. And Adomako has punished them as early as 8 minutes. It's Asante Kotoko's 0. Karela 1 Enso doing. He dropped his guard, Adomako took over, and what a finish with the outer foot. That is a brilliant and a clinical finish. Now Zeze, beautiful play, tries to play the 1-2. Here is the young chap missing a glorious opportunity to Akpa. So it should tell you, you need some level of experience to play at this level. Inexperience. He's lost possession again. It's a chance for Karela Owusu-Boakye. This could be the second goal, and he's missed. How did he miss from that range, Owusu-Boakye? That would have been the assurance goal. He did everything right, but for the finishing. Baba Lamte wants to shoot. Lamte shoots. It's a good save from Ganiu. Corner. Richmond Lamte, exactly what Kotoko needed. Somebody who can take responsibility, and goalkeeper Ganiu rose to the occasion. Corner taken onto the crossbar. Kotoko denied. It was Henry Ensu again. Henry Ensu is rising and getting the connection right, only to be denied by the bar. Here is Somoa Sapon. Good play from the youngster. He's got Mukwala. It is still Somoa Sapon. Now Baba. Baba shoots. Brilliant goal from Baba. To the ground. No movement. Clever goal. Intelligent finish. Rina. He's got space. Trying to find Saka Dauda. Here is Saka Dauda. And it's an opening goal for Tanut Bofuakwa. They've broken the deadlock. And who else but the captain, Saka Dauda. Just a minute to half time. And it was all orchestrated by Mwankurina. Sends the ball onto the path of the captain. Now Ben Junior unable to track him down. It was Agbesima. But goalkeeper Richard Attack completely beaten.
Nana, I'm not surprised surprised at all. Sakadoda is notable for scoring such goals. Looking at how the build-up started, when Greener started everything, how he laid the pass, how he was very calm, and how he delivered the final delivery. Let's give it to Sakadoda. Let's give it to him. Brilliant goal. Brilliant goal.
Second goal in 3 games for Popakwa in the Premier League for the Hatzavok with a fine chance. Esso goes wide and Pedu shoots. And it goes out for a goal kick. At the Ghanaian Coronation Park, Popakwa have beaten Accra Hatzavok. Their first meeting in the Premier League in 16 years. And Popakwa have picked maximum points. Their second win of the season. And this is a big win over the Phobians. Forget about the margin of the scoreline. But this is massive and big for Popakwa.
Have details in our subsequent bulletins. We appreciate your time with us here on the AM show. I am Muftau Nabila Abla. You can head on to myjoyonline.com and read some more sports stories. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for staying with us. This is the AM show, and we get into our big stories. Now, October has just started, and this means we're in the last trimester of the year, the last 3 months of 2023. Now, many expect government to achieve a couple of things before the year ends. Today, we dilate on that. We discuss those from a variety of sectors or angles on the AM show. You can also join us with your thoughts on what you expect from government towards or at or by the end of the year. Well, joining us, the first person joining us for this all-important conversation is Dr. Eric Bachi-Adam. He is lecturer, Department of Finance and Accounting at the University for Professional Studies, Accra. He joins the conversation. Doc, it's been a while now. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Ben. It's been a while.
It has. It's good to have you in our company one more time. Let's start from the very start. What has been your appreciation of dynamics, especially economic dynamics? And you could veer into health, roads, and anything else, the state of the Tema motorway, among others. What, for you, has been the performance of government in these areas? Let's start with what has been done before we even get into what you expect to be done by close of year.
Thank you. So I will start by looking at what the government set itself to do in terms of the microeconomic indicators. You know, what is on paper and what is the reality. When the government revised the budget in July, there are a couple of things that the government expected to do. Government want to tame inflation to about 31.3% by the close of the year. Currently, we are doing around 40.1 as at August. You know, which means that we still have a long way to go. If you are doing 40.1 and you want to go down around 31%, you have a long way to go. So generally, inflation is high. If inflation is high, prices of goods and services are also going to be expensive. And looking at the very low wage rate in Ghana, you know, Ghana is one of the countries with the lowest wage. You know, we have a minimum wage around 14.88, which is less than $2. I mean, and it seems that the average Ghanaian will be struggling within the Ghanaian economy. And relatively, government has done well in terms of exchange rate management. The first quarter of the year, government did around the depreciation was around about 6%, and it appreciated in the second quarter around about 0.12%, and the third quarter is the depreciation about around 1%. So generally, government is trying to manage the exchange rate in a certain way. But in the third quarter, usually when people are shopping for Christmas, importers will be buying goods and all that. If government don't take care, the inflation will go back. Exchange rate will also surge up. Therefore, there's a need for government to watch out in terms of the management of the exchange rate. And we are expecting the next tranche of the IMF money to drop by next month. So if this money comes, probably it will be able to stabilize it. Although it's not much, but it will be able to stabilize it before we get to December. Generally, in December, exchange rate will be stable because of the holiday effect. During holidays, exchange rate dip, it goes down, and it's good for the economy. And more, the diaspora will be coming to celebrate Christmas, and there'll be more dollar in the system in December. So the government needs to watch the dollar. Is the crucial time to watch the dollar or the exchange rate volatility is in October and November. We're expecting December to be generally fine. Now let's come to what is happening in the Ghanaian economy. Is it a case that these figures on paper translate to the average Ghanaian's life, and what Ghanaians expected? What I am seeing is that Ghanaians have a very high expectation. Even recently with the health issues about the dialysis and Kolebu increments and all that. And there has been several
which Kolebu has rescinded, by the way.
Yes. That it has not received parliamentary approval. So
the surprising thing on that, though, is the fact that you can have the PRO for the institution come and say that this is it and give reasons for it, citing taxation, the removal of certain waivers and all of that. Then the CEO, who actually interacted with me, makes mention of the fact that these people were not sanctioned to bring to bear the increment. It's rather curious, and it was enforced with a notice. But anyway, that's the curiosity. Thank God it's been taken off.
But see, that is the inconsistencies we have in terms of pricing. If the public have not made noise about these things, it should have been implemented anyway, and they will have justifiable reason, like one party is trying to defend, another party is trying to do damage control and all that, But we should also be mindful that when we demand more from government, looking at the current situation, like some debate has been on this dialysis issue, that we should add it to the national health insurance scheme, we should cover it. And these schemes, national health insurance covering it, means that government needs a certain budget to be able to accommodate it. Therefore, the only way that government can accommodate is to probably increase the levy. And by increasing the levy means that there's going to be additional taxes. So there should be a balance between what the public expects and what government can offer. For example, this year, the rains have been pouring, and many roads, including where I stay, is very bad. Like you mentioned, the motorway is very bad. If we're expecting more from the government in terms of development, then in a certain way, government also comes back to say that if you expect more development, the only way that the development can be achieved is through taxes. Because we have advised government from the beginning of the year that government should be cutting down capital expenditure in order to slow down borrowing, government debt. So if government is going back to be able to meet all these promises, there is a need for government to also increase taxes. But the question is that the previous tax that the government has taken, has it merited the kind of development we see? If it does not merit the kind of development we see, then bringing also taxes will not augur well for the government. I don't think that generally people don't want to pay taxes, but they cannot measure the rate of development with the taxes that have been paid. So government needs to be measured in terms of the taxes and against the development that we have in the country. So on the basis of road and healthcare and other infrastructure, I will say that the government has generally not met expectation, and the rate of inflation expectation has not been met. And you could see when you interview the ordinary Ghanaian on the street, that it is not easy for the average Ghanaian. So these are, I think, the few things that I think the government has not really met expectation, and there's more is desired, going forward before the year ends. So what I would expect the government to do before we end this year is that
before we get into the expectations, just a quick one. Since your forte is finance and accounting and economics in there, 31.3% is the projection. We want to tame inflation. We're standing at 40.1%. Is it feasible to bring it down in this last quarter to the 31.3% as projected by government? From where you sit, what do you think?
I doubt based on these reasons that we spend the spending or consumer consumption goes up during this period. So we even expect it to go up beyond the 40.1 that we recorded. We are expecting a dip. By September there will be a slight dip. But as to achieve the 31 targets this year, I doubt, especially going to December. Many importers and holiday makers are planning for the Christmas, and therefore I doubt if the government will be able to achieve that particular target. Generally, I don't see the government achieving it.
Okay. All right. So you are now going to look at your expectations, and I'm sure a lot of them would be economy related or have a slant towards the economy. But just hold for me briefly. Let me also take the initial thoughts and performance of this administration this year from Edward Karaweh. He's General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union. Mr. Karaweh, a very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Thank you so much for joining the conversation once more.
Thank you, sir.
So from where you sit, and I don't know whether I'm not mistaken, are you Dr. Karaweh now? Or I don't want to be on the wrong end of...
I'm Comrade Karaweh. I'm a unionist.
Okay, Comrade Karaweh. All right. So with what has happened this year, there's been quite a lot to talk about, from the economy to health, with the many of our healthcare professionals leaving the country, to roads. The Tema motorway has been on our radar in recent times, to farming and everything in between. Before we get to what your expectations of this administration would be by end of year, how would you assess so far what has been done in the year? 9 months gone and the 10th month counting.
Well, sometimes it's very difficult to say it as it is, because the attitude of Ghanaians now is sometimes they expect you to be diplomatic, to say things when try to say that, oh, it will be good, when in actual fact it will not be good. Everything has gone wrong with us. We have lost control of everything. Nothing seems to be working. And if you are talking about the Tema motorway, look, we also, the few days ago when we had a heavy downpour, between Malam to Kapua, I'm telling you, it was very terrible, very, very terrible. And nothing is seen being done to address the situation. We are not talking about the problem. We are talking about also what is being done to address the problem. So it's one problem to another, one part of the city to another, one part of the country to another. We virtually seem not to be doing anything to address those problems. And there are no problems that we are not aware of. There are problems that are with us. And again, it makes one sometimes have to think about losing hope in the future. But of course, we can't lose hope. And when you follow this media, you will find out that the young people of this country have totally lost hope. And some are just going out, not that they are unpatriotic, but look, they sit down and analyze the situation and they see that there's no, hope for them in life. For some of us who have already got jobs, if tomorrow I lose my job, I will know that in my lifetime I've ever worked. But you can imagine a young person who has completed the university, has struggled in the university. All of us know what it means to go to university, struggle to complete the university. And then, with all the expectations and all the sacrifices they are ready to make this country what it is, eventually there's no hope for them. So really, we just have to accept that things are not going right, and I think to see how we can reverse it. So certainly, life is very hard, and it's not just that life is only hard. It's just that you don't see what is being done to address the problem.
Well, but are there any positives? Are there any things that on the back of COVID-19, the Russia-Ukrainian war, inflation and everything in between, going to the IMF, have you seen any positives this year that you can speak of? It can't be all negative, can it?
Well, you see, sometimes, I don't know, people want to say that there's always two sides to a coin. At a particular time, there's no two sides to a coin. At another time, there can be. That is when you work hard, you can reverse the phase that we are looking at. But we are looking at the phase that we have today. The face of Ghana today is pathetic. Look, some of us have just had the opportunity to travel out of the country, and my few travels out of the country, I just see that Ghana is a joke. I even think that Accra doesn't befit the city that is meant for Ghana, the capital city. We sit in Ghana, we talk and we fight over pettiness, issues that do not promote development. Look, we implement policies that really destroy our people. And sometimes I ask, why do we do this to our own people? Why? They are our brothers, they are our sisters, we are giving birth to them, and the future of the children. Just because we have been privileged today to have jobs, and then we make decisions, and we now say that we close the door to people who are yet to get jobs and be at our level. Look, I read this book, Taking Away the Ladder, which is looking at development history in perspective by Hagin Chang many years. Today, I was very much unhappy about the way things have been couched by the developed countries against us. But today, I've seen that even we do the same to our own people. If we have got jobs today, why don't we try to create jobs and maintain those jobs for people that are yet to be born or have been born to come in? Look, as for the IMF, you see, some of us, and I'm very much happy that we made this point clearly that the solution to Ghana's problem is not IMF. Look, we got to a point, people say, there was no alternative. There's always an alternative. We are just simply not ready to take the alternative. If you're not ready to take the alternative, you say that there's no alternative. Look, because of IMF, look at the type of fight we have gotten. The domestic bond restructuring and all matter of things, the fight we had in Parliament. Today, you can see that Ghana is united. Look, because of IMF, look at how can a whole government, we know this government campaigned and won elections based on creating jobs for the people of this country. I know this government will not shy away from creating jobs. But it's the same government now saying that, look, I'm not going to employ anybody at all. You can't think that this is what the government is thinking. This is just IMF conditionalities. Look, so if you look at what we are doing to ourselves, look, why should we sit down and destroy our own environment to the point where today we have no control over Galamsey? We are only talking that we have no control over the Galamsey because we are participating in it. Officially, we all know what is happening and what is the future of Ghana come the next 10 years. The way Galamsey is going on, almost about 13 regions of the country are engaged in Galamsey. You destroy the future. Look, I have nowhere to go. I'm certainly not a young person like that. But given my exposure, if I were a young person, I would be thinking about leaving this country. So when we drive the young people to leave this country, we should be ashamed. Somebody should be accountable for that. Sometimes I hear some professionals trying to say that, because doctors and then nurses need to have second degree, they need to have specialization, that's why they go out. It's not just because the economy is not good. Why can't we put those institutions in Ghana?
Right.
So certainly we are not managing our economy well. And you can see it. It is not just because we are talking, but it's because really people are losing hope.
Doc, for you, from your end, are there any positives that you can highlight?
No, when you talk about positive, what do you want me to say? You want me to say that?
So I'm actually this question is not for you. I'm referring to Dr. Yadom.
Okay, so that's okay.
Right. Doc, are you with us?
Yes, I am. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Did you get the question?
Yes, I got the question. The positive I can highlight this year for the government is in terms of the exchange rate management. Relative to last year, I think this year has been managed properly, and to be able to keep inflation within exchange rate within that 11.6 cedis per dollar, I think it's something that the government has done well. But then they took us there. So I mean, this year is actually a damage control year for the government to be able to correct the wrongs and be able to set the economy back to its foot. So I think that's the only thing I can say that the government has done relatively well in the management of the exchange rate. But there are more to be done. More is desired from the government. If you may allow me to go into my expectations.
Yes, that's the next point. So you can go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, you may. I would say that government, we should brace ourselves for one of the worst Christmas for the year.
We should brace ourselves for one of the worst Christmas times of
within the Akufo-Addo's government from 2017 to now. We should brace ourselves for it, and we shouldn't expect much. So if you have any money, don't go shopping. Keep it for school fees early next year. Because things are not going to be better, and that the government can't do much. The government is trying to be able to set the economy properly, which the government will not be able to do even within the next 4 years. So it's not going to be easy.
But a quick interjection. From where you sit, that if people don't spend, and if the action of selling and buying do not happen, the economy is going to shrink. It's going to have an impact. I mean, and especially around this time, people bring in lots of goods from different parts of the world because of the Yuletide, the Christmas season. If this stuff doesn't go, it's going to lead to a stagnation of the economy. So when you say people shouldn't buy, they should hold on to their funds, what are you saying? Basically, what do you mean?
Good. So if people don't buy, what it means is that, number one, it will even help the government to achieve its inflation target, which generally it is not possible, but then it will be able to slow down inflation. Now, when people don't, you can't save forever. So we save to invest. So one of the ways of looking at investment is look at the rate of savings. So if you don't spend or you're able to save for this year, what it means is that going into next year, you will be able to have sufficient funds to be able to manage your household expenditure, But if you go shopping and you are hoping, we spend with the hope that we'll receive. But there's no hope. I was on your show when the betting was introduced. You interview one young man and you ask him, why does he bet? And he said that betting gives hope. Betting gives hope. because there's a hope that you nearly won or you will be able to win. So they keep betting. So what many people are looking for is hope. So if you are spending against hope that there will be next income coming, or your income is likely to go up, or you are likely to get something. But here is the case that there's almost nothing to hope for. There's nothing. Where I sit, many young people, the moment they complete school, the next thing is to go back to school. Why do people like going to school? They are not going to school because they like going to school, because there's no job. So while they are waiting and they are searching for a job, they want to develop themselves. They want to go back to school. So a lot of young people are having masters. They don't have no work experience.
I know of people with PhDs, no work experience, and now they're struggling to get work. And that was one thing that getting out of school in Ghana, I had to consciously, even before, you try and do some work here and there so that your CV is not bare. Because you see some CVs, and I've had the opportunity of seeing some of them, it's all education, no real work. And it's because of what you're talking about.
Exactly. And you see, it is not that they don't want to work. We send students on internship. They don't get any place to do internship. Just to do their service for free. Nobody wants to. There's no job for them. You go to many of these government institutions and even private organizations, a job that one person is supposed to do, 10 people are doing it. So they have high wage bill. Their labor cost is going up, and they're unable to sustain. So practically, if we ask people to get work experience, where are they going to get a work experience from? Who is going to hire them? Even when they want to offer their services for free for internships. I mean, so we are heading towards a dangerous path. And I ask myself, if the leaders of today have been able to live their dreams, the people who are in government today, a certain type of government created an environment for them to be able to live their dreams, probably to save and go into politics or save to be able to invest. Are they creating that kind of enabling environment for young people today to be able to also live their dreams in the future to come? And that is very bad, if young people are losing hope and they cannot, the future is not guaranteed. Now, the government will talk about the fact that it has provided free education. Just yesterday, I met a young guy who has come from holidays. Now, I was asking him, when is he going back to school? He says that he has been told till further notice. I said, in secondary school, until further notice. You don't know when you're going back to school. What is the essence of the free SHS? I mean, I should be able to know that I've come to spend even long vac, and I'm going back next month, next 2 months. But you've been told to further notice. It means that the young person is going to stay in the house for the next 3 months or more. And staying in the house for the next 3 months is bringing back economic difficulty to household, because you may have to engage a private teacher. You may have to engage those young people so that they will not go roaming in the community, and doing things that will not help their future. So I think that the policy inconsistency that we are experiencing, makes it difficult for us for the young people of today to have hope, to believe that let's brace ourselves, let's wait. We've gone through COVID, we've gone through Ukraine war, we've gone through this and that, but let's wait, there's a better tomorrow. But we do not see that better tomorrow coming, So in terms of expectation, I don't expect much for the remaining 3 months. We can only hope against hope that we'll be able to cross this year, and 2024 will be better. We're expecting the minister to read the budget. Probably there will be hope for 2024, but as for 2023, I don't see any hope for the ordinary Ghanaian on the street.
You don't see any hope, light at the end of the tunnel? So in terms of taxes, you spoke about betting, and I was going to go there. Now, more and more sectors of the economy are being taxed. Some would say, yes, a country is built on taxes. But some also say, from where you sit, you know very well, if you tax people into the ground, people will simply start finding mechanisms of, evading tax. Tax avoidance is legal, but tax evasion is not. Then there is, recently now we're talking about celebrity taxes. I don't know whether you heard, and that has raised another storm. But you put that side by side with the fact that in terms of our spending, in 2 months, we've spent about 6.3 billion. And we've added that to the public debt, so to speak. And some have asked whether even as we've gone to the IMF, we are doing the right things in order to create that sort of economic resurgence we need.
All right. So in terms of government taxes, talking about the betting taxes and the celebrity taxes, I have said that the betting taxes, government is not taxing it for moral reasons. So usually when you bring the betting issue, what people say is that, oh, young people are going into betting and betting is not the way and all that. It is not true that the government cares so much about morals. If government cares so much about morals, there's a backdoor to betting. That will stop the number of companies that are registering. We have more betting companies in Ghana than Nigeria. I mean, so it is not because government care about morals, but because government want to find a way to squeeze more money. That's why they are going into betting, taxing betting companies and individuals. Now, with the celebrity taxes, I think that taxing should be progressive. If you're earning more, you should be able to pay more. I mean, so I don't see much wrong with it, but usually the angle that the government comes from it, and it makes it look like that he's hunting a particular group of people, you know. So it should be a general thing that if we have a certain status, you should be able to pay more. You know, if we go back to the origin of taxes, the origin of taxes based on the story of Robin Hood. Robin Hood used to rob the rich to settle the poor. That is the basis for taxing. So taxing was generally to take from the rich so that we can develop the economy and the poor will benefit, you know. But in Ghana's taxes, I think the poor suffers more relatively because the poor don't have much, you know, to be able to afford affordables, the basic things in life, you know. So taxing more people we should have a certain concern, especially if the average, if we have minimum wage of about 14.88, you know, and many
and how much is even a loaf of bread?
A loaf of bread, yeah. So your minimum wage can't buy a loaf of bread. It cannot afford just bread, you know. And the average first degree earned around 1,500 or less. With the transportation cost, accommodation, you know, it means that you can't live in Ghana as a young person starting life. You cannot. You are going to rent. You've completed university. You want to start life. You need accommodation. Your landlord is demanding 2-year rent. Where are you going to get the 2 years from? The rent from 2 years? You need to pay for utilities. You need to be able to settle down. So it is not easy for the young person to live in Ghana. And these are the realities that the politicians should agree. And let us let us find a way to settle it. But then politicians will be talking about government is building roads, government is investing in this, government is investing in that. You see, one of the ways that corruption increases is in capital expenditure. Because when government invests or spend more in capital expenditure, you know, we hear about contract being inflated. If you check the auditors' reports and all that, it shows that the quantum of money that goes into the road, that we don't get the value for money. So a road that we could have paid about, let's say, 50 million, we end up paying 100 million for the same road. So if you're not getting value for money and you want to be charging taxes in the name of providing development, then the people will not readily accept. Elsewhere, you know, people who travel elsewhere don't complain much about the taxes because they can see with their eyes what the money is, the taxes that they are collecting, where it is going. Therefore, you are confident in the government that when you pay your taxes, it goes into development. So people won't pay taxes because government is doing advert encouraging people to pay taxes. People will pay taxes when they see that there is a conscious effort from the government to be able to put the money into sectors that can inure to their benefit. You know, so if we lump so much taxes on Ghanaians, they will find an alternative. I mean, like government introduced the e-levy, thinking that the government is going to rake so much money. They have so much hope, and even against that, they were saying they were not going to go to IMF when the e-levy is introduced. And people find a way, or mobile money users find a way of going around it. That made the government not to achieve the revenue expectation. So in achieving government revenue targets or revenue consolidation, government should not only be focusing on the front-loaded approach where the burden is pushed on the ordinary Ghanaian,
Right.
but the government can also look at a way of improving what the revenue from the taxes are used for.
All right. Let me just hold your horses. Let me also introduce into the conversation Dr. Peter Anti. Later, Dr. Karaweh, I'll come to you, Comrade Karaweh. I'll come to you as well for your thinking of what government should do by end of year. But Dr. Peter Anti is Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies. Dr. Anti, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Ben. How are you?
We're doing what we can. I hope you're well.
I'm fine, sir. Thank you.
Great to hear. For you, how has government performed this year? And what are some of the things that you would like to see by end of year? On education, I know you'll talk about that. But on myriad other issues, road networks, galamsey, education, health, what's your take?
All right. Thank you very much. For me, I think that everything that has happened this year can be summed up in a simple word as it's been challenging for the government, especially in the education front. You would agree with me that although a lot of improvements have been made in that area, and when I say that, I'm talking about improvement in infrastructure, improvement in access to education at the secondary level, talking about the improvement in technical and vocational education. I'm talking about improvement in science and technology, which seems to be one of the highlights for the Ministry of Education. You see that there have been conscious efforts from the ministry to ensure that STEM is placed up there. I can also see an improvement in the curriculum development process. So although it's not been perfect, we have witnessed changes in curriculum from the basic to the junior high school. I mean, from the primary to the junior high school and the senior high school, and that is something that we need to commend the government for. And all these things have happened within the year. Of course, latter part last year was when the junior high school curriculum was almost finalized, and this year there's been a development of the senior high school curriculum. So there's been some considerable work done. But in the midst of all these improvements, we have seen challenges emanating from the handling of, first and foremost, the feeding situation in our various secondary education level. You will see that there have been various instances where schools had to complain of shortage of food, and in certain areas we have seen the directive from school authorities that they might close down schools, and that is a big worry, because whilst you are doing some of the good things, these things come in and they can be a stumbling block to the progress that you are making as a country. So it's the issue of feeding in our various education institutions have come out strongly. We have also seen teachers complaining of course, not only this year, but this year we saw a lot of complaints coming from teachers in terms of their total welfare. They have talked about issues relating to their things that they need to use to be able, the tools that they need to be able to perform their mandate as teachers in our various educational institutions. We have seen NAGRADS, we have seen NATS, we have seen CCT coming out forcefully to demand what is due them. We have seen various unions at the tertiary level also coming out to demand forcefully what is due them. The Senior Staff Association of Ghana, we have seen TEWU, we have seen GAO, all these people coming out to demand what is due them. So there has been some turbulence in the education front, and we have seen challenges in infrastructure. We have seen a lack of commitment to improving basic education in Ghana. And when we talk about the basic education, we are not saying this because we recognize a reduction in the budget allocation to that particular sector. We are saying this also because in the MPP manifesto for 2020, they made it clear that this year, this for their second term, Gallup will be something that they will pay particular attention to. But if you are on the field, like myself, doing research and talking to teachers, you will see the state of even the projects that we call Gallup, which was meant to uplift the selected basic schools that we have in Ghana. So basic education at that level have been left in disarray, and we think that it's one of the low points of the Ministry of Education. And we're hoping that as they strategize for the last quarter of the year and plan for next year, they would be thinking through how they will address this big challenge at the basic level. So for me, it's been both good and bad, but if you put it together, you would realize that the foundation of the education system, the things that will need to propel the improvements and the reforms that you are making seems to be not giving the needed attention. So you do the reforms and you do all those things that you want to do. But then when you don't take care of the teachers, when you don't provide the needed resources at the foundation level, at the basic education level, if you are not careful, all these investments that you are making in terms of curriculum reforms, trying to improve infrastructure at the senior high school level, and so on and so forth, would not yield the needed results.
All right. I will come back to you for more when it comes to the core expectations by end of year. Let me come back to Mr. Karaweh. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I'm there, sir.
Great. So in terms of agriculture, of course, you spoke generally about a number of things, but especially in terms of agriculture, what would be your expectations before the end of the year? There are some commodities that have, even when they were in season, the cost was so high. And now we're getting to Christmas. People will eat, people will have, festive events. Dr. Boachi Adam says, don't spend because next year is going to be tricky. The end of year is going to be hard. Things are not going to be in tip-top shape anytime soon. So don't spend. Save rather and spend on education, your school fees and all of that from the start of next year. We know the start of every year is hard. But in terms of agriculture, what are your expectations?
Well, I sometimes wonder whether we do the basic economics. People in this country have tried to save, and what has happened to their money? When you talk about savings, should the people put the money in their rooms? Is that what we call savings? Or we should put it in the bank so that it can be available for investors to borrow and invest? When you put it in the bank, what has become of it? Look, the safest place to put your money was the bonds. And today, we are still restructuring the bonds and ending. People are really don't know where to save. But the agricultural sector is so pathetic. And I don't know.
Cocoa farmers, before you move on, cocoa farmers have got, the increments that they received recently. I think it's $211 higher than the Ivory Coast has now announced its own. It's about 211. Yes, the final newspaper corroborates that. Cocoa farmers in Ghana enjoy $211 more per ton than their Ivorian counterparts. That's something to celebrate, right?
Well, why do we think that when we increase producer price more than Cote d'Ivoire should be something to celebrate, and the farmers should celebrate for that? The farmer in Ghana does not live in Cote d'Ivoire, does not spend in Cote d'Ivoire. The farmer in Ghana will look at his income vis-a-vis his expenditure. If the expenditure is very high, and you even now want to say, oh, I've done you good, or you are better off because your income is higher than that of Cote d'Ivoire or another country. What about cost of living? You know, so I don't know where this comparison is coming from. You see, and that is one of the things that we always look for excuses instead of solving the problem. I am a Ghanaian. I live in Ghana. How many of our farmers even know where Cote d'Ivoire is? So what is the comparison between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire? But then they will say that, oh, you know, when the price is high, it will prevent farmers from smuggling their cocoa to Cote d'Ivoire. Price is at the end of the whole value chain, but it all starts with production. And I'm saying that, you see, I think 2 or 3 years back, there was this whole concern about the Chinese getting involved in cocoa production. And it was like, no, Ghana will lose it. And I'm saying, yes, why not? Look at the way we have been producing cocoa in this country. Today, as we speak, we don't even have a simple machine that will assist farmers so that when they harvest their cocoa pods, they can just pour it there and the machine will scoop out the beans. In fact, if you have 1,000 pods, you have to count them one by one by breaking through them with your cutlass to scoop out the beans. We can't continue cocoa production like this. Well, the country will just modernize their production system and they will be ahead of it. So that is one. We are not modernizing cocoa production in this country enough. 2, look, if you go to wherever cocoa is produced, generally you also find gold there. And if you look at the average age of the farmer who is in cocoa, they are around 45 years. The youth are just not ready to go into cocoa. The alternative is what? Galamsey. Now, it's not that all of us must go into cocoa production. Of course, people should have the right to go into cocoa production or go into any other production. But here is the case that they are going into Galamsey, which causes permanent and irreversible destruction to agricultural infrastructure in this country, including cocoa production. We are all aware that, look, these Galamseyers have been able to divert the course of rivers, not only destroying marine life or aquatic life in the river, but divert the course of rivers. Look, the Galamsey leaves behind is destruction that government has not got the capacity and the technology and resources to reclaim the land. Government doesn't have it. So what is happening to agriculture is that much as we'll be looking at good policy, policy is based on your ability to produce. Now, so Galamsey is destroying the basic infrastructure that will be used for agriculture in the future. So you can see that not only for this year, but the next 10 years, the rate at which we are destroying our agricultural land by Galamsey, then it means that there will not be agriculture in the next 10 years. And cocoa is already suffering because
wait, Mr. Karaweh, just hold it for me. You say there will not be agriculture in Ghana in the next 10 years with the way we're doing it?
When I'm talking about there will not be agriculture in the next 10 years, I'm just meaning that the capacity of the country today to engage in agriculture and the rate, the level of agriculture we have today would be reduced in the next 10 years. We are just not, we don't want to think ahead. Everything is just about now. Everything's about now. And I'm saying that this is a complete state failure. How can a whole state be there and you cannot control illegality in the country? Just because, your media house and other media houses have come out, risked their lives, look, to go into those areas to come out with documentation, evidence for government to act on. How has government dealt with that? How has government dealt with that? And sometimes I want to be a journalist. Sometimes I think that it's not worth it. Because in the sense that people risk their lives, bring out all this information, and nothing would happen about it. So that's one point. The second point is that, with climate change, the weather is unpredictable. And agriculture in Ghana has been largely on welfare agriculture. We cannot continue that way. Look, this government came out with policies that one village, one dam, that they are making sure that every village has got a dam for agricultural purpose. Some of us asked questions from the beginning to find out how much it will cost and how they were going to do that. They brushed this out and continued. Today, let the government now talk about the one village, one dam. Look, we are not sitting here talking because we just want to hold government on. But the people on the ground, if they are able to produce with their dams, why not? Look, it gives them good life in wherever they are. Given my job, I roam around the whole country in rural areas. And I'm telling you that when you go and look into their faces, you just feel
So if I asked you, in terms of food sustainability, food security ahead of end of year, when people will party, people will celebrate Christmas, what would you tell me? How food secure are we?
Well, again, I just talk about. I'm talking about rain-fed agriculture. We depend largely on nature. The rains so far, particularly in the northern part of the country, the rains are not too bad. And this year, government has not invested directly in fertilizer inputs and the rest. They buy their fertilizer from the market. Things are good. That comes that the farmers want and the quantities and so on are storage their crops. Of course, you can have a minimum increase in yield. And we all know, and the professor Kwaji Adam indicated, we all know that when it gets to Christmas season, prices of goods go up. It's just a natural consumption pattern. And we should expect that prices will go up. And we also know that food inflation is the major contributor to national inflation. So again, from now on, December, what are we going to do to be able to bring down food inflation? We are not going to do anything in terms of policy. Whatever will happen from now until the end of the year is not because of policy. It's because nature has been good to us. Because we have not invested in agriculture as a state for the year. You need to invest, and then this time is about harvesting from now on to December. It's going to be harvesting for both the southern sector and the northern sector. So you expect the price of stuff to come down a little. But we have seen that for the past 2 years or 3 years, that it doesn't work that way again. Where during the harvesting season, prices of foodstuffs come down. We are seeing a trend that even in the harvesting season, prices of foodstuffs do go up. So we don't expect a dramatic change in the situation as we find it now. Just because we are getting to the end of the year.
I'll come to you with two questions to wrap the conversation. The final one will give an assessment of what you see. But coming back to Dr. Anti, Dr. Kwaji Adam, just hold for me. I'll come to you with something specific. Dr. Anti, because you joined the conversation late, what would be your core expectations in respect of education before end of year?
I mean, to be very frank with you, I think that if I am an advisor to the minister and the government, I will tell them that there's no need to do any new thing at this time. I think it is time to take stock. You see, and let me be a little bit frank here. Next year is an election year. There are a lot of things that have been said in the NPP manifesto that would be brought to the public and scrutinized to see whether the achievements of the government or the promise of the government match the achievements that they would want to tout. So if I'm strategizing, I will tell the Ministry of Education not to do any new thing they should use the last quarter of the year to take stock of the things that they said they would do for the past 3 years, and then they move into food year when we enter 2024, so that they will know what they have been able to do for the past 3 years, and then they will know what is left. And then in 2024, they would now have ways and means to achieve what is left to be achieved. And that is what I'm expecting. I don't expect any new thing to be done from now to the end of the year. I think that it is a good period to take stock, to look at what NASIA is doing, to look at what NTC is doing, to look at what NACA is doing, to look at what the Library Board is doing, to look at what Sendelos is doing, to look at what all the other agencies are doing, and then to take stock, present a comprehensive report to the ministry, and then they'll sit on it and then strategize as they move into the final year of their administration.
Right. Just a quick thought on this. You know, NAGRAT in recent times has called for the immediate abolition of the double track system and a reversion to the 3-term calendar. What do you think about that? That can be done, right? But is it something in the right direction?
Sure. You see, and I normally have problems with my friends in the teacher union, because we started this fight long ago when they wanted to convert the primary level and then the junior high school level from the trimester to the semester. I remember we had serious interactions on that, press releases, and all those things to ensure that they don't do that, because that level of education and the kind of semester system that we wanted to introduce would not have yielded any good result in terms of learning outcomes. So we said a lot, and the ministry listened. I was thinking that this should have been extended to the senior high school level, because the reasons that were given in terms of infrastructure, in terms of aligning the calendar with the university calendar to ensure that the teachers are able to pursue their science-rich programs could all have been dealt with in a different way. So I agree with NAGRAT. We should go back to the trimester system, give enough room for the students to rest, and then enough time for the students to also be on campus, and ensure that this system, where now they are not even doing double track, what they are doing is called a transitional calendar. This transitional calendar, where Form 1s and Form 2s are in school, Form 3s are in the house, Form 3s and Form 2s are in school, Form 1s are in the house, it's dealt with. But what I do not agree with NAGRAT, and I have to be very frank with them, is that the idea of reducing the contact period from 1 hour to 40 minutes would not yield the needed result, because 40 minutes for a lesson is difficult for a teacher to achieve much, especially when we are pushing in the new curriculum to ensure that the teacher adopts transformative pedagogies, the teacher adopts creative pedagogies. You cannot use 40 minutes to achieve much. So I think that the 1 hour for one period should be maintained, but then we should reset to the trimester system.
And how quickly do you think that can be done?
Well,
to bring back the trimester system very briefly. How
the
quickly?
academic year comes to an end, and I'm thinking that this should happen when we resume school next year. I believe that when the first years are admitting, we should start with them. I don't know how the ministry would take this, and you know the system we are running now. It's difficult for some of our big men to take some of these advice, and also I don't know the extent to which NAGRAT is ready to push this. But I think that in the just not too distant future, the academic calendar should be reversed to the trimester system, but the 1 hour period for each lesson should be maintained.
All right. There's this message that comes through, I think, in response to some of what you've said, Mr. Karaweh. Samuel Ebugani says, we have invented a technology that will help and increase productivity in extracting the cocoa beans from the pods, but we hardly get support to develop the machine. Maybe you could share your number with me, Samuel, and I'll patch it through to the likes of Edward Karaweh, and we can see what can be done. Are you aware of such technology, though? Mr. Karaweh, they are in existence, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited that you have young men and women who are getting innovative, because they invent a number of things here. But like the message has shown, who is taking that invention to commercialize it, to make it big, to support farmers?
Right.
We hope that this time around they will do it. And you are aware of many inventions that have taken place in our universities to solve our problems. Yet they have been made to die at birth because they don't get support. So I hope this time round, government is listening and they'll add up to that. And we should get in contact and see how we can get this thing done.
All right. My final comments to you, gentlemen, or my final question. I'm going to have you assess, and I'll start with you, Dr. Boakye Yadom. For you, Mr. Karaweh, you will do the agricultural sector, and for Dr. Anti, the educational sector. When you look at these sectors, so to Dr. Boakye Yadom, the economy and financial management, basically, this year, how would you rate government's performance on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of how it has fared, and why would you give that rating? When it comes to Dr. Anti on education, I would also like you to tell us a bit about how you feel about the latest Times Higher Education ranking of the UCC, where you lecture. But let me start with Dr. Boakye Yadom. Hello, Doc. Please unmute, Dr. Boakye Yadom.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you now.
Yes. So in terms of the macroeconomic indicators, on the face of exchange rate, inflation, and the interest rate, on a scale of 0 to 10, I'll give the government 5. But I should say that the translation will take some time for us to feel the relative stability in those macroeconomic indicators we are experiencing. And therefore, more needs to be done, especially in ending the year. And I want to quickly add that the government has managed the energy and the energy sector well. That is what is causing factories to keep running, because there's light. If factories are not running, expectation in GDP growth and all that will not be realized. And whatever the government did to keep the light on, the government should keep it up, for factories to keep running, for productivity. And I will say that the government should also strengthen efforts in connecting farms to markets so that the food inflation will reduce. Mr. Karaweh mentioned that usually in the harvest season, we still experience inflation. Sorry, food prices still go up. It goes up because although supply side has increased, but how to get them to the market becomes a problem. So they either stay on the farms and get rotten, or they are transported at a very high cost because fuel prices have gone up. So if government can close that gap, in ensuring that we have relative stable exchange rate like the government has done within the year, which also feed into fuel prices. To be able to keep fuel prices at a stable, if not down, at a stable price, we can transport farm produce to market at a relatively cheaper prices, so that we can experience a certain reduction in the pocket of the ordinary Ghanaian. So the disconnection between what is being produced and what is being sold on the market. The policy must be taught wholly, so that the benefit and the work that the government is putting into it, we will be able to realize it. So generally, in terms of the macroeconomic indicators, government is doing something good, and it should be, the government should keep it up, and that the government should not also promise so much. It will be slow, it will be painful. So if government promises so much, it raises expectation, and it almost feels like when we compare with what government has promised and what is being done, it appears like government has not done anything. The reason why there's a lot of backlash is because of the expectation that government gave us as compared to what we are experiencing. But if the government has not promised so much, and what we are relative to what we experiencing, we would have said the government has done well. But I think that 50% score means that it's a marginal pass, and the government needs to do more to be able to end the year 2023. Ben.
5 over 10, 50%. Edward Karaweh, what would be your score in the agri sector?
Well, let me thank Wachiano. I'm also under to share the glory with the University of Cape Coast because I'm an alumnus of that university.
Congratulations to you as well, then.
Yeah, so I'm very much happy for the performance of the university. I think we have little to expect from agriculture into the future, and particularly into the end of the year, because if you look at agriculture, we have reached a stage of production that the fate of the outcome is already determined. There cannot be any intervention now that will change the outcomes, because these are crops and they are some stages. When they reach a certain stage, you cannot do much to change their fortunes or the outcome. So we should not expect much from agriculture, because my saddest point is, come next year, this time we may still come to be talking again about things that we have identified today. What I think we should do is to invest more in agriculture, because even if the government is broke and then we are on the IMF and then we are constraining production in other areas, spending in other areas, not agriculture, I also want government to move out. There are many companies that are working hard in the rural areas, and unfortunately, no government official has even visited them. When I talk about government officials, I'm not talking about those at the local level like DCs and so on. I'm talking about people in the Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Agriculture, and so on.
Right.
There are also government policies that are seriously undermining agriculture. For instance, in Ghana, anything you produce that is good, you are free to export it. There are companies that have built the one district, one factory, and they cannot even get the raw materials to feed the factory.
Right.
Yet, government allows those products or produce to be exported. So there must be a ban on all these things.
Okay, so all those points are being made. For the sake of time, what then would be your score?
Well, I come from UCC as a product there. I cannot give government more than a D, just a marginal pass. In fact, I will give them 49%. It's a failure. Government has failed. Agriculture has failed. I'll give them 49%. They are not even up to the 50%.
So in agri, you say government has failed. You give them 4.9 out of 10, the equivalent of 49%, and you say government has failed.
Yes, it has failed because phase one has the plan for food and jobs, creating markets here and there, saying that it's 100% successful. Is what and what? Look, what is there to show? There's nothing. So government has failed in agriculture.
Let me come to Dr. Anti. You'll have the final word from the educational perspective. What would you say briefly, and what would be your score?
Well, I think a lot have been achieved in that sector. I have said that already. There has been serious challenges too, so they might cancel out. I would, without explaining the metrics and everything, I would want to give them 65% in the education sector. I think there's more room for improvement, and if they continue to listen to some of the things that have been said and a lot of the research work that have been made available to them, we'll be able to move the education sector far ahead of where we are now. But a lot have been achieved in that sector, I must be frank.
UCC?
Yeah, that is a good news. When you look at top 10 universities in Africa, it's only UCC that finds itself in there. It's dominated by universities in South Africa. And that is a little bit disheartening.
And you are sticking to the Times Higher Education metric.
Exactly. That is the standard, you know. So we have to encourage our colleague, our sister universities to up their game. If you look at the metrics of their ranking, in terms of teaching, we ranked high. In terms of research, we ranked high. In terms of research quality, we rank high. Research environment, we rank high. It is only in industry that KNUST took the lead, and then when it comes to international outlook, Eugene was up there. But when you put all of them together, you would see that we are doing something right. And I'll use this opportunity to say congratulations to the Vice Chancellor, the Chancellor, the senior colleagues, and everybody from the University of Cape Coast. I hope that we'll continue to push the frontiers of education in Ghana, in Africa, and in the world. And very soon, you will see that we will be able to top Africa too.
Dr. Peter Anti is Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies. Thank you, sir, for joining the conversation. We also had Edward Karaweh he is the General Secretary of the General Agriculture Workers Union. Thank you, sir, for joining the conversation. Together with Dr. Eric Boache-Yadom, Lecturer, Department of Finance and Accounting at the University of Professional Studies, Accra. Well, that's how we hang our boots on the first end of the conversation for this morning. But still to come, that conversation I was just teasing out. The University of Cape Coast, according to the Times Higher Education, best university in Ghana, best in West Africa, slipping to 7th in Africa. But that's quite a good outing, again, on the Times Higher Education scoreboard. We'll be having a conversation on that. Also look forward to that conversation on NGO Maxim Nyansa and how they are using their not-for-profit organization to help young people attain IT skills in Ghana. Those conversations still to come on the AM Show.
Meters from the Kaswa toll booth is a stagnant pool of water, more like a naturally created government's flagship project. One district, one dam. The problem, however, is that the irrigation potential of this particular dam, created by cascading rainwater and mudslides, is not being tapped as it sits right in the middle of the road. Drivers navigating this stretch must drive with caution, mindful of the peril that awaits them if they speed up. With each rainfall, the asphalt on this stretch is covered with thick sludge from surrounding hills. Frustrated residents say for years, successive governments have looked on without providing a permanent solution to the problem.
From Tobu to Nankasangasa de Bahan, you try 6 hours. And here the Moncanchira Womo. Ghana Penfono Mudri Homon Faho, no ma father leno, no ma so hazard, Eddie Siso, Wa, no mon Fabi. Nanquamo fa no more taminum, and no moon the way a quantity.
Yesterday, we spent 6 hours in traffic from the toll booth to this point. Our leaders don't use this stretch each time it rains. They rather put on their sirens and use the other lane. If they were compelled to use this stretch to have a feel of how we spend so much money fixing our tires, probably they would ensure that this issue is addressed.
And so before hapa ade na Ghana ekosa hwe me break man abeyi wa sisi a me be ya me do ya me si abeg na chire break man ba kon eyi.
Top government officials own houses around this place, but they keep mute and watch us suffer. Just now my brake band came off. I have to buy a new one.
Ghana in 24/7 ade ye hu de omoya mayen afie bia aha etumeji afie bia yi enso omonya hwenfa ho asati mamfo na yete ande omummu nipa.
I honestly don't see what the government is doing to help us as citizens.
Every year during the rainy season, this is what we endure. Government needs to construct a huge drain to channel excess water and then get a professional to see how we can prevent the mud from clogging our drains.
The drains, designed to channel excess water, are now clogged with mud and overgrown weeds. Right before my eyes, a vehicle got stuck, trapped in the mud, a testament to the unforgiving nature of the road.
This stretch is a very busy stretch, and ordinarily it's the only stretch that takes you from the central region to the Greater Accra region with ease. It's a major highway, and just few meters away from this point was the once vibrant toll booth that served as a source of income and revenue to government. So even as I struggle to pull out my feet from the mud, the big question is, where did all that money go to? Well, obviously I can help this gentleman, but then hopefully government can do something to help him by getting this road fixed.
John is a contractor under the Ministry of Roads and Highways. His job is to desilt the drains and gather the mud from the road each time it rains. But he laments he has not been paid for the past 4 years.
Enka first na enka nsuo to ye na no enka ahomache se wo baka bana ye nwie ya enka ya clear kwan no mu nyina eyi gata ni mu na bet mami for the past 4 good years 2 months ya ye adwuma we am highways 4 good years 2 months mu na ye koyi omuntu ya yeka.
Initially when it rains, we quickly bring in our machines to pack the mud from the road. But for the past 4 years, 2 months, we have not been paid by the highways authorities.
We decided to drive to Barrier, and for hours, my team was stuck in traffic. A kilometer journey from the Kaswa Tobo to Barrier. It took about 2 hours, 15 minutes. The police had to create a diversion route due to the intensity of the mudslide, forcing motorists to share one lane. I spotted this excavator, which had been deployed to gather silt. Unfortunately, it broke down.
Honestly, it's really hard. Like, even when I take a drive with my driver and we go towards Accra, it took 4 hours. We were in traffic for 4 hours on the road. Like, it's a non-stop thing. And even I went to Tuba, right? The road over there, they had it, once I closed down, we were driving on the same side of the road. You had cars coming from this way, cars coming from that way, going towards each other. Like, that's not safe.
Each time it rains, everyone feels the pinch. The police had to create a diversion at Barrier because the road is unmotorable. I am a motor rider, and each time it rains, I know I will have to spend my sales fixing one problem or the other on my bike.
As drivers navigate the quagmire, they plead with government to act. The question is, when will government fix this problem? Faustina Safo, for Joy News.
We're glad to have you back on the AM show. And from here, we talk about that feat attained by the University of Cape Coast, which has been adjudged the best university in Ghana and in West Africa. And that's according to the 2024 Times Higher Education World University Rankings. In 2022 and 2023, the university earned the bragging rights as the best in Ghana, the best in Africa, and the best in West Africa, and the fourth best in Africa, and the best university globally for research influence. Our friends in UCC never let us sleep over that. And then in 2024's rankings, released just days ago, many more things to celebrate. The university has still ranked as number 1 in Ghana, number 1 in West Africa, but slipped marginally from 4th position to the 7th position in Africa. That's actually on the back of the different dynamics at play in this recent study or survey or ranking. Well, we have joining us in the studio the director of the Directorate of Research, Innovation and Consultancy at the University of Cape Coast, Professor David Teidoku, together with his deputy, Dr. Brentford Burville, who is also a director at that same institution, to look at what really goes into these rankings and what the rankings mean for universities in Ghana, West Africa, and the continent of Africa. Prof, Doc, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
You see, thanks to the good work you're doing, the very good work you're doing, colleagues who are graduates of UCC will not allow those of us who attended Legon to sleep. That's the only bad side. You are creating some trouble for us, though in other rankings, we'll also do our own bit. But this is something fantastic to celebrate. Prof, I'll start with you. What goes into these rankings? How are the assessments made?
Great. Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here. There are many rankings in the world. We have a number of them that we can say they are prestigious because of the indicators that are used, which actually cover the core things that any university is supposed to do. You know, as a university, our 3 main areas are research, teaching, and then outreach, or what we call community service. So the rankings actually measure how well any university is doing around these areas. So the Times Higher Education World University Rankings measures actually how a research-intensive university is performing in all of these 3 areas that I've talked about.
So that's interesting because we know that research is one of your fortes, one of your strengths, and that has propelled you to the heights that we're seeing now. But what is this World University Ranking all about? I mean, which institutions are ranked and all of that? Doc, can you share a bit with us?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Let me send our greetings to the Vice Chancellor, Professor Johnson Yakubu, and then the entire UCC management, our staff, and then wonderful students, and the good people of Cape Coast. Yeah, Times Higher Education World University Rankings. I would say that THEWR has consciously and consistently maintained a metamorphosed in terms of methodological robustness over the years. Why am I saying this? If I take you down memory lane, starting from 2004, when they released their rankings, it was based on 6 indicators that was calibrated around 5 pillars. And then in the 2010, they still did some robustness in the methodology and then came to 13 indicators hinged upon 5 pillars. Now, 2014, they again metamorphosed in terms of their methodology and then brought a new methodology called the THEWR 3.0, which has 18 indicators calibrated around 5 pillars.
So I assume over the years it's become even the competition has become even stiffer.
Exactly.
And it's more difficult to meet the benchmarks.
Yeah, because they always respond to criticisms and then improve upon the methodology. So we are having a well-balanced, uniform, holistic, stringent methodology, but also fair, because it cuts across all the facets of what the university should do: teaching and learning, research output, research quality, industry, income, international outlook. These 5 are good pillars, what the THE is all about. But let me say that, like my director said, you have the Quacquarelli-Simmons ranking, you have the US News and Report ranking, you have the Shanghai rankings, but then within the sphere of academia, the prestigious one is the THEWR, and it's all over the world. It began in the UK, way back, started as a modest form of ranking for UK universities, but has grown to be this giant in terms of global rankings. And it is well recognized around the globe. So when you are ranked by this institution, and it's not mean an achievement.
It's interesting you started off from there. Very quickly, how many Ghanaian universities were ranked?
Yeah, currently we had 4.
4 of them.
4, yeah. UCC, University of Ghana, and then Kwame University of Science and Technology, and then University for Development Studies, UDS.
I see. That's quite an achievement for all of these institutions, making the cut. But what then would you say is the requirement? He's mentioned some criteria. Yeah. What does it take for a university to be ranked, to be even considered to be on this this ranking?
Yeah. So as Dr. Bevel rightly said, the THE is one of the most stringent ranking, because even to be qualified for the ranking, you have to meet certain criteria. One of them is that you should have a minimum of 1,000 relevant publications, and the relevant with emphasis. Relevant means that those publications should be indexed in what they call Scopus database. What is Scopus database? Scopus database is a database that houses journals that have met a certain minimum quality threshold. So what we do as academic staff, we publish our output in the journal, and the journal should be peer reviewed with high quality, because our work is used for decision making. So we ensure that there is a peer review mechanism that ensures that whatever comes out there is of high quality. So thousands of such publications should be in that outlet within the past 5 years. In addition to that, in each year, there should be a minimum of 150. So a university cannot just wait and in the next 3 years have 1,000. No, there should be 150. That's consistency over that. And then the university should also run...
And so this is something you keep your eye on?
Yes,
You should deliberately keep your eye on it to ensure that you meet that benchmark.
That's benchmark.
Right.
And the university should also be a comprehensive university, sort of. So, for example, you cannot be narrow in just one subject area. It should be a little bit... You should have undergraduate students. And then there are a few, you should submit data. So this is not like you'll be there and you'll be ranked like the other ranking agencies. You should apply for and submit data, show you have met this criteria, and you go into the system and submit data. There are data points that they get themselves that you don't have control over. You don't have to. But there are things like the number of staff, the number of students, and so on and so forth that you need to submit. How many females there are, how many males there are in how many international students, international staff that you submit. So it's quite a very stringent criteria. That is why many universities are not able to qualify to be ranked in this. It took UCC a while. It was only in 2021, thereabout, that we managed to meet the criteria to be ranked. And as we speak now, he mentioned that there are 4 Ghanaian universities that have been ranked, but actually 8 universities submitted data, even though they met the criteria.
The 4 others did not make the cut.
Yes, they didn't make they met the criteria to submit the data, but they didn't meet the criteria to be ranked. So what it means is that on some of the pillars that they've used, you cannot have more than 0 on 2 or 3 of them. Right. So they didn't mean that.
So this is competitive. It's very stringent.
Competitive.
But are there advantages to being ranked? What does this mean for the global image, for example, of UCC with this performance? What does it mean?
Thank you very much. Let me just, as a sequel to what my professor said, let me add to this. This year, they had data submitted from more than 2,900 institutions across 108 countries globally, and only 1,904 institutions qualified to be ranked. So you can see they have inclusion and exclusion criteria. If you don't meet it, then you are just deemed as a reporter.
Someone will say elimination by
that's the point. Yeah. So to qualify in itself is an achievement. Yeah. So talking about the affordances of this ranking, we can categorize them to the institution itself, to the staff and students, to the town, Cape Coast itself, to Ghana. So if we should bring it down, then to the institution, what does it bring to the institution? The institution already has its vision to be a worldwide acclaimed university. Now, what it means is that once you are highly ranked, you rub shoulders with contemporaries out there in the global scene, let's say somebody lands in Ghana and wants an institution that is highly ranked to partner with for project, partner with for staff exchange, student exchange, and mobility issues. Definitely the person works here and then will come straight to UCC. Assuming you have funders who have funding for a project in education, they want institutions that have been ranked highly in Times Higher Education World University rankings to partner with to execute an education program. They will work to UCC. In Ghana, if you are looking at institutions of merit and reputation, and you have your universities being ranked in the Times Higher Education, then you are on top. You are recognized, because here not only in Ghana, but also in West Africa and then in Africa. So it puts Ghana on the world scene in terms of tertiary education delivery. It puts Ghana on the world map. So if we are having most all the universities, I hope you will come to that question, almost all the universities within the country being ranked highly by THEW, then Ghana will be a wonderful place.
So the profile of a country in terms of tertiary education will necessarily go up.
Yeah.
What is UCC's story, though? Because you just mentioned it took you a long time to even make the cut, 2021. But since that time, you've never looked back.
Yeah.
What has led to this? It didn't just happen. So how did you get here?
Yeah. So there were a lot of things that we put in place around 2016. We decided to build the capacity of our staff in the area of research and engage them to let their output go to credible outlets, their scholarly output to credible outlets. So we're engaging them. They were publishing in Scopus Index Journal, in journals that are indexed with Web of Science and all that. So that has been very important. As we speak now, we do a lot of staff capacity training for our faculty across the board, and we are encouraging them that as a scholar, you have to look beyond this country. You have to let your output be somewhere there that is recognized. So that is one of the actions that we have taken. Our management also provides some kind of seed money to support us in our research endeavor. As small as it may be, it helps. Yeah, it helps us to test the proof of concept on most of our things, and that we can leverage on that to be able to bid for bigger grants out there. So that is also one thing that we've been doing. So there have been a lot of preparation, and I should add to what he has said about the advantages of being ranked. Yeah. So if people want to choose university, it could be within Africa, they will be looking at the top universities. And no wonder our South African universities have a lot of international students because people want to go there, they rank highly. It is also a decision-making tool. Yeah, I know some of our collaborators, I only call them competitors, collaborators in Ghana. They set up committees and bodies to look at how they can work towards this ranking so that they can rank well. That is very good. So it's a kind of diagnostic tool.
Obviously, no one is sitting on their oars. Everyone is trying to get better.
But
which is a good thing.
If the ranking is not there, you wouldn't. Some of those decisions wouldn't have been made. So you look at yourself. Even we who have been ranked, we look at which of the pillars do we need to double our effort. So in a way, it's very good. It helps every university to look at what they are doing, take stock, and say, okay, probably we are very good here, but let's look at the other areas.
Quick follow-up on this next bit, very quickly. So for those universities that are struggling to make the cut, or for those who are even in here but are pretty low, what do they do?
Yes,
what are the...
for some, for some of them, they are pretty young university. I have to single out one like UHAS. UHAS is doing so well.
The University for
Health and Allied Sciences is doing so well, but they are pretty new. So it will take a little while to be able to. I think even last year they were reported, so they met the criteria, but it will take a while.
But even the publications, like the 1,500, it means that it will take time before they
met that actually.
Oh,
but last year they were reported, so they might have met that, but it will take a while to be able to score well on some of the pillars. And I think for them also the issue about the subject diversity, because it's purely health, so they need to diversify a little bit, then they can be able to to get into that. There are, for other universities, they have to double their efforts. They have to double their effort. They have to encourage staff to publish in credible outlets. They have to support staff research, and all that.
Doc, so coming to you to wrap up before we take the final comments from both of you. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
To the University of Cape Coast. We may do our little beefing internally, but we're always proud when something Ghanaian is making strides and going out there. So we share in your pride. Where does the UCC go from here? Obviously, you're not thinking of, we're here. So at least you're thinking of taking over Africa and maybe even becoming much better in the ranking. Where next? How do you sustain this?
Thank you very much for the question. I think that if you check the Scopus database, you will see consistency in trend. Since 2019, we have not rested on our hours. Scopus output has been increasing steadily from down to up to today. We are now looking at the 2023 year, how the output will also be like, because it has always increased. Output commensurating with the citations. So it is not really a fluke. The records are there to show how we are progressing. In fact, we will continue to do what we are doing best. That's what I would say. Because at times you may also have to not roll out everything like that.
You want to keep your trade secrets close to your chest.
You continue to do what you are doing best. As we always say, a university is born out of research, teaching, and outreach services. So if a university is committed to these tripartite activities, then obviously the university will progress. But then consciousness is also needed, like our prof said, consciousness is needed. Where are your faculty publishing? They may be doing some very good works, but they may be throwing them into predatory journals, which don't count in the Scopus database. And this has been one of the detrimental issues for most universities, the consciousness to put their papers in credible.
That's something that must be looked at.
Yeah, very, very important.
Just final words in some 10 seconds, if you can. Cape Coast, University of Cape Coast alumni, and others making all of this possible. Final words from you, Prof, from you, Doc, in some 10 to 15.
We are most grateful to our stakeholders, the council, our chancellor, Dr. Sir Samjona, and the university council led by, now it's dissolved, so, but the university management, vice chancellor and his team, and all staff, alumni, students, everyone, all stakeholders have contributed in diverse ways to this ranking, and we are counting on them to continue to support the university in many ways, so we can continue on this
project. Yeah, thank you very much. I think for our students, they should be proud. They should hold their heads high. They should know that the certificates are credible. Employers will be looking out for them because we are a top-notch university. For alumnus and alumni, the same. Wherever they are, their heads are high. In their workplaces, they are excited that they have attended a very good university. Our students will also have this motivation that since their certificates are recognized, they are able to annex scholarships and also have access to international education because of the credibility of the certificate based on the rankings of the university. But let me say that these rankings have implications for Ministry of Education and GTech. As we said earlier on, the national picture, they need to put a strong foot out there. So what can we do as a ministry? What can we do as GTech to help mobilize Ghanaian universities to be able to
get there,
do well in this ranking for the sake of the prestige of the university and the tertiary education that the university churns out.
That's a crucial point you've made at the end, and I'm glad you've made it. Those who join us for this all-important conversation, we had in the studio Professor David Teidoku. He is Director of Research Innovation and is it consultancy? Consultancy at the University of Cape Coast, and also Dr. Branford Bevel, the Deputy Director of that same institution at the University of Cape Coast. They've joined us. Cape Coast University, first in Ghana, first in West Africa, 7th in Africa. They can only go higher, and we're proud of them as well. Well, stay tuned, because coming up next, we'll be telling you about an NGO formed in 2016, and they are innovating as well. They are helping build that groundswell of information technology, especially among young, underprivileged youth in Ghana and beyond. It's the best of two worlds. You want to know more? Maxim Nyansa, that conversation up next on the AM Show. Welcome back on the AM Show. Now, talk of bridging the digital divide. Talk of young people and creating opportunities for them. Well, that is what the NGO, the foundation Maxim Nyansa, has stood for since 2016. They're offering the best of both worlds, from what is out there in the, so to speak, better developed economies, and bringing that to bear in terms of IT training in Ghana for the underprivileged. Well, joining me in the studio this morning for a conversation on that, we have Stanley Kwache Denchera. He joins the conversation. And all the way from the Netherlands, Diana van der Stelt. She also joins the conversation. She's one of those collaborators for the Maxim Nyansa NGO. Lady, gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely outfit, though. It's good that you chose this. So we've situated you in the middle so we can see you properly on this.
I have my
You're lovely.
seamstress in Accra, so.
I see.
Yes.
I see. You're imbibing everything. But tell us a bit. Let me start with you, Stanley. Tell us a bit about your foundation and why did you even set this up? What have you been up to?
Wow, that is a very exciting question. And coincidentally, I found myself today, right after my alumnus
UCC.
We died. Yeah, I graduated in 2008. So, well, you really know the kind of education that we go through in this country. While we are at it, we realize that there's a lot of theoretical things that we do. You try to understand that you need to know the practicality after learning all the book, so that you'll be able to actually implement in the job market. So the whole idea of Maxim Nyansa started when I was teaching, actually. I was in the classroom, I taught for close to 5 years. And the idea came in when I was teaching ICT and science. I mean, teaching using pictures. You can imagine you teaching and then
explaining IT with pictures.
With pictures to the point where you see children holding stones and even having keyboards on tables. We're trying to see how best we can change that. So the whole concept of Maxim Nyansa started with that. And then we also came up with an idea where you have graduates who have come out from the university who do not even know exactly what to do, to see how best they can actually come into the field where professionals will train them to actually fit into the job market or also become entrepreneurs. That is the whole idea that started this organization.
Yeah. I'm curious about the name Maxim Nyansa. Yeah. Just give us a quick breakdown. Why Maxim Nyansa? Nyansa, knowledge. Maxim from what? Maximum?
All right. So when we founded this organization, and I was together with Diana in the Netherlands, we sat together. We decided to make sure that the name of the organization, it's local. We do not want just the English name, but also to make sure that the wisdom that is backing it is also actually comes out. So Maxim Nyansa actually means maximum wisdom. That's
maximum wisdom.
Yes.
So you're combining, like you said, the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
Maxim from maximum in English and Nyansa from knowledge in Chi.
Yeah.
In terms of training programs, let me come to you, Madam van der Stelt. What programs do you offer? How does one qualify? You have collaborated with Maxim Nyansa on this. How does it go?
Well, we have programs for schools. There we have schools that can be deprived schools in villages, but also schools in the cities who want to do a learning transformation program, as we call it, with us. A whole integrated program for schools where we help them to lift up the level of education and make it more practical, particularly for the children, so they understand more of what they learn, not just, read from a book And then you write an exam, and then if I call you 3 months later, you probably have forgotten what you learned about these biology chapters. It's the same for all of us. So that's like practical training programs for the teachers, and then the teachers will work with the children. That's school program. Then we have various programs for graduates, high school graduates. We do a practical training to become a hardware repair engineer or IT service personnel. You can start your own business. And then we also have programs for young university graduates, like the ones from Cape Coast.
So from all levels of the educational ladder, you have something
to
build these young people who maybe would end up on the streets or without any viable skills.
Yeah,
you give them something.
They have a very good certificate. Like Cape Coast, we have various alumni also from Cape Coast University. In our bootcamp, they will stay for 3 or 4 months to get all the practical, hands-on and soft skills, as we call them, professional skills you also need in the job market. Particularly if you're from a poor family, you have not learned how to behave as a professional lawyer or doctor or accountant. It has a certain lifestyle, certain discipline, communication skills, time management. All of those things are also part, and a lot of practical, technical training that we do. And then people, when they've are done with us, they go to a job.
So she's spoken about what you contribute into the lives of these young people, and so from all levels of the educational ladder. But then after this boot camp, because this is sort of a boot camp, what then happens?
Well, really a positive question. The whole idea, first and foremost, is to make sure that they have that entrepreneurial mind. As you know, there's a whole lot of unemployment, in this part of Africa. So you have an entrepreneurial mind where we make an effort to pair you and put you with a company on internship, first and foremost. A lot of people don't actually also know that they need to start with internship. Yeah. When immediately they complete university, I need a job. But you cannot just get up and have a job. You need to actually be properly trained. And so first you must always have some level of internship. So after training, we make sure that our trainees are having that level of internship first. And these internships, most of them lead to their full-time jobs, and then they become the professionals in that circle. Yeah.
Now, tell us about your learning transformation program and how schools even get to qualify, because this is assistance you're basically giving the products of these schools. But what is the program and how do they qualify?
All right, excellent. So I started by saying that I was in the classroom for close to 5 years. Now, the idea is to make sure that schools are first and foremost equipped. So we make a choice of a deprived community, depends. So what we do, we have a quick scan. When communities contact us or schools contact us, we have what we call a quick scan that you go through. You answer some questions. We want to make sure that the community that the school is are actually in for the program. Because sometimes you take this program like this to a community or a school and the authorities may not even want it. But this is something that is bridging the digital divide. So we give you a quick scan first. You answer some questions where we assure that the heads of the school, stakeholders are all involved. And then there are certain areas that they also need to contribute. And so once they meet that criteria, then we are in for business.
I see.
The buildings have to be in a good shape, right? Because we bring also slightly used computers from the Netherlands. It's one of my
which is one of those collaborations.
Yes, it's a partnership we have with a support foundation in Europe. A lot of volunteers are involved. People throw away their machines very quickly in Europe and replace them by new ones, mobile phone or laptops and so on. So we get those. We ship them to Ghana, to the Maximianza Foundation, and then we bring them to these schools. But if the building is not in a good shape, ventilation, temperature, electricity, some schools are still under a mango tree in the Volta region, So if you will go there, we'll tell them, first put up some sort of structure, and then after 2 years, when you're done, we'll come back with the computers.
Tell us then, since you started on that trajectory, about your digital library.
Yeah, when we started, we have always these ideas how to help young people to move forward in life. I thought if we have a digital library online, if we develop some curriculum and it's free, then we can also share it with other partners in West Africa. And we've been doing that. We've been opening branches also in other ECOWAS countries. And then the schools closed during the pandemic, and we were not able to do any school projects. So we just, fortunately, a few donors were ready to give us some money, and we built a digital library and put all the resources that we had been collecting in there. So they can be used by the schools, but also by our partner organizations in other West African countries. And these are open source materials. You don't need to pay anything for them.
Now, it's interesting that you're collaborating with them because they have some resources we need and we're using it to the benefit of society. But projects of this nature require a lot of such collaborations. How have you navigated these waters? How can other schools benefit from this foundations programs?
Yeah, it's been really amazing. And our collaboration with Climbing the Right Tree Foundation in the Netherlands.
Climbing the Right Tree.
The Right Tree. The reality is that Climbing the Right Tree name actually was coined from Maxime Nyanza. If you look at our logo, it's an adinkra symbol. That means that when you climb the right tree, you get the right push. And so
they offer diapano.
Piano. Exactly. So that is how Climbing the Right Tree came out of Maxime Nyanza. And then Diana and the team in the Netherlands made sure that they will have that kind of support. So there in the Netherlands, they make sure they get us professional trainers. They find the right donors. They find people who are actually ready to actually support the work that we are doing. And then we make sure that we get these. So that is how these supports are actually fared. It's very, very important. You need to get that. Now, other schools, as we said, are open to actually talk to us. As we speak, we have a lot of some of the members of parliaments that are actually working with us.
You have a huge waiting list.
I have of course, I cannot handle it all. The numbers are so huge, but we handle it one step at a time, as and when we're able to get enough resources to be able to deal with it.
Right.
So that is how we've been moving. We have a lot of people who are supporting.
Right. We have to run. We're out of time. But just your parting words and maybe any final message to corporate bodies.
Yes.
Briefly on that.
All right. So Maxime Nyanza, our doors are open. We are actually looking for collaboration with corporate bodies to be able to help deprived schools to also be able to set up ICT labs in that order. And just this morning, we are actually going to open one that we've assisted Francois cluster of schools, children of about 3,500 population without any ICT lab. And we've been able to put one together for them with about 40 computers. We are giving them an e-library with tablets in addition. And that is going to be opened this morning. So we call upon every...
So that's what's happening this morning?
That is what is happening this morning.
Final words?
I hope to find a lot of partners in Ghana, but also in Europe, to help to get this done.
Okay.
They have hundreds of millions of young people. They still need career perspective.
Maxime Nyanza, they are an NGO. They are doing this for our country, basically for free, bringing up our young ones in IT. Let's support in the best ways we can. Joining us in the studio, those who have been here, co-founders Stanley Kwache Denchura. Thank you for coming, Stanley. And then Diana van der Stelt, who is helping all the way from the Netherlands here in Ghana, offering her support. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Well, coming up next, we'll be telling you about the Renault Ray. It's a conversation on their newly launched mobile service van. If you know a bit of Spanish, you would know that Ray means king. Well, it's not the king of service vans. We'll be telling you more about that after the break. Welcome back on the AM show. And how about we zoom out of the AM show? We're talking about the Renault Ray. It's a conversation on their newly launched mobile service van. And joining us in the studio, we have Chris Atipo, marketing manager, and Vivian Gomado, mobile van administrator. I was just telling her that she had a very strong name. Gentlemen, lady, thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Renault Ray. I was playing my linguistic thing and thinking Ray, king in Spanish and all of that. But Renault has been a leader in automotive, design, innovation, and all of that. What inspired the idea of the Renault Ray? Chris, let me start with you.
Okay, so as you rightly said, we're the leaders in automotive innovation. So we are constantly challenged by our group partners to consistently come up with innovative solutions, innovative offerings and services that will keep us relevant in the space and also keep us competitive. So we actually identified a gap whereby we feel that people are always busy, companies are always up to their tasks, trying to meet their business objectives. How do we keep...
People are pressed for time.
People are pressed for time. How do we keep people to spend time, to continue to spend time with their families, quality time with their families? How do we keep managers to also keep up the good work without having to interrupt their daily activities, all their daily routines? So we thought about this, and we thought that a service or a convenient service that could make our customers' experience much, much better is by offering this mobile van service, which actually brings convenience to you wherever you are in your preferred location, and is actually positioned for individuals and corporate organization as well.
So this is definitely for owners of Renault vehicles?
Yes.
Renault Ray. But what specifically, Vivian, does it offer by way of repairs, maintenance, and all of that? I mean, those are the things that are crucial to maintaining a car.
Exactly. And so our state-of-the-art van comes fully equipped with the right tools and equipment such as air compressors, brake pads, and other ancillary items which help offer services such as engine oil and oil filter replacement, air and AC filter replacement and check. We can also check your spark plugs and your brake pads as well. Your light bulbs can be checked and replaced. Also, your wiper blades can also be checked and replaced. We can check your battery as well. Yes.
So a whole barrage of diagnostics that can be done very easily with this.
Renault Ray, yes. And these services are rendered by our technical team sets, which consists of a technical advisor, the mechanic, and the driver.
But what exactly makes the Renault Ray unique? I think I'll stick with you before I come to Chris.
Great. Okay, so with the Renault Ray service, the clients or the customers get to pay the same price just as visiting our workshop. There is no extra cost involved.
So you sit in your home, the comfort of your home or office.
Yeah.
But you pay exactly same.
The same price, just as visiting our showroom. So that's one thing that makes Renault Ray stand out. Yeah.
And any top up? Anything else you'd like to add?
I mean, that's our unique selling proposition for this service, is to make sure that the customers get to pay the same price just by visiting the workshop, no extra charges.
But what are some of your success stories that you can share in this regard, Chris?
Well, we've been piloting this service for a while, and we officially launched somewhere last 2 weeks.
Okay.
Over the pilot phase, we've had certain remarkable stories from our clients, from individuals, from our corporate clients.
Who have used it,
who have used the
given
service,
feedback.
and they actually do not come to the workshop anymore for their periodic maintenance. In a case where they actually have to do some further diagnostics or further checks, then we have to have them coming. But then we've had some individuals give testimonies of how happy they are with the service. They think about patronizing the service again and again. We've also had fleet customers, very huge, big clients that have also loved the service, and they've had a good experience. They've experienced the convenience that Renault Ray offers.
It comes with.
To them. They've also experienced the exceptional pricing, as it's the same as visiting the workshop. So then, why leave your office space when you can actually...
I mean, we're all looking for faster, quicker, more efficient, more effective ways.
What car do you drive?
So I drive a Fiat car.
You drive a Fiat car?
Yeah.
Okay.
You may want to convince me, though my family has owned Renaults in the past. Maybe...
So stick to the old tradition. I think family tradition is always...
I like where you're going with this. But tell me, how can one book an appointment for the service? How do you go about it?
I think I'll leave that for the administrator.
Great. So customers have the option to call or send a WhatsApp message to the number 055-958-6412.
Could you repeat that number again?
Sure. 055-958-6412. Yes.
All right. And what plans do you have for Renault Ray in terms of the customer service week? I think I'll leave that to both of you. Or would you rather take that?
let me handle that. So looking at this year's global theme for customer service week, which is team service, Renault Ray is actually excited. We are very much thrilled to offer up to a 10% discount to
10%?
Yes, 10% discount to all our customers that patronize this service. Just a way of us, celebrating this global campaign, which is the Customer Service Week.
Okay. We've run out of time, but I cannot wrap up without doing this. What's next for Renault Ray? Final words. I'll start with you.
Okay, so we are planning on expanding our services to a wide reach of customers. Yes, that's one thing. Chris, you can add
and we are also thinking of expansion in terms of the number of fleets that we have. Currently, we have about 2 fleets running. If the customer base grows, which is setting, we are expecting to also have much more fleets that would also cater for a huge customer base. So these are the plans, and this is the roadmap for Renault Ray.
Right. We've run out of time, but I think we've made the most of the time we've had. And we have some of your vehicles here. I hope you're aware of that.
Yes.
Your pickups and others. So
Yes.
it's a testament to the good work you're doing. Chris Atipo, Marketing Manager, Renault Ghana Premium Motors Limited. He joined us in the studio together with Vivian Gomado, Mobile Van Administrator, Renault Ghana Premium Motors Limited. And that's the note on which we cap off the show. Don't be surprised if you see me in a Renault vehicle one of these days. Up next is Joy News Desk. And from us to you on the AM show team, good morning. Have a good day.